Welcome back to the high-rise city of Sao Paulo, Brazil, currently filled with Siege's greatest players looking to tower over their competition and lift the hammer high this weekend. It's playoffs, and we are speed running through this play day. It is blink and you miss it stuff right now, isn't it? My name's Ian Chambers, joined by Fastan and man like Leo. Do you want me to call you Leo, Alfama? What do you want today?
I guess we're in esports, you can call me Alfama, you know. That's
okay, Alfama.
How most people know me, but you know.
I love that name. Let's take a look at our next one. This is huge. Another team will be about to go home. SSG versus Bleed. This is a rematch of the Atlanta Major Phase 2, and so a bit of a grudge match.
Definitely for Bleed as well, right? Considering that this was the match that they needed to win against SSG to play main stage, and they managed to not win that game out, got eliminated by SSG, and look at where we are here. Once again, it is an elimination game between Bleed, between SSG. The loser goes home.
High stakes, that's what we love to see. Let's talk about SSG. Staying with you, Anne. This team is just so vocal.
They are very vocal indeed. I mean, especially in that game yesterday, they were shouting left, right, center. There was people going crazy in the all chat as well. And I think we should have a clip of this very, very soon, because we constantly heard Ashen being super vocal towards the enemy team. As I said, they're vocal words-wise, vocal in the chat. But then, of course, they did not win that game, and Canadian absolutely went crazy as well. I love this. It's about competition and Siege. Just yelling, I can't hear you.
Actually, I've got a funny story about this. See how Canadian runs in the other booth and starts yelling at him.
Yeah.
At my first SI, I'm 18 years old, playing on the stream. I play against Ever Geniuses. After first map, EG, Canadian is on EG, he reverse sweep us, comes into the booth and start yelling in front of me in my eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on right now? And actually, that's psychological warfare. They know what
it's
they're
crazy.
doing.
Thing, when Canadians started going off, I'm thinking, surely he's not going to go like face to face with it.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't care. He comes in.
Anyway, Leo, SSG, so together. This team has got a real togetherness, just but in the server and out of it as well.
Yeah, I think overall it's called out game vision, I think, and overall vision of how a team should work, right? I was playing with him in United. I think he really believes in what he called the system. It's something that everybody needs to commit to, right? In and out of game, it shows, right? In VODs, in screams, sleeping, eating, everything they do it together. They hit the gym together. Look at how buff they are, you know? It shows out of game, but it also shows in-game as well, in the way they play. They're really tight bonds, they're really structured, high levels of discipline as well. Very, very different from Lost.
Yeah, let's take a look at Bleed now. Shout out to APAC. If they're not your favorite team coming into it, they're surely your second favorite at least. Now, earlier today, they made light work of the Atlanta Major runners-up in loss and continue to blow away doubters in their SI journey. Bleed, though, and they can, you know they can, and they have to match the energy here.
Yeah, and of course they should. I mean, we've seen them be vocal a little bit as well, but of course, we talked about it earlier this morning. They've proven before they can beat a Brazil team. They did it again this morning. They've also taken down an NA team already in this competition, being M80. However, my main fear is that SSG is probably of a different caliber at the moment than M80 was in their last opponent.
Completely. Like, that's what I meant, is that actually right now, the way that SSG is playing is very structured and highly disciplined. They don't leave any gaps. And the thing is, Bleed is really good at exploiting these gaps, but they're not creating them necessarily. And SSG won't give them these gaps. So now, how does it work for them? They need to create these opportunities, and that's just a step harder than what they had to do against Lost.
All right, let's get into map vetoes. I told you, we are running through this. We want to get you right into the action here at SI in Sao Paulo. We've got our bands, Oregon, Border, Skyscraper, Consulate, and our picks are now coming through, Anne.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by the Clubhouse pick from SSG here. It's a good map for them, but then Bleed have 2 losses on it. They made it very close to Virtus Pro, but they can be very explosive on it. Definitely something that SSG can counter in that regards. We have a Bleed picking up Shelly here. It's the only map that SSG don't actually play, so that is something I'm really curious about. Bleed are kind of picking into the unknown on this, but they themselves, they've won 7 out of 8 games on the map. It's a very, very comfortable one for them.
Yeah, so two main points here, 2 main stories for Clubhouse, the pick right now of SSG. I think it makes sense because they've got 2 really recent VODs full of rounds to analyze, and SSG is known to be really good at counter-stratting, so I think it makes sense for them, and they likely have a game plan going into Clubhouse to counter-strat Bleed. And then when you look at Chalet is actually a map that they had in their map pool, but nobody knew it. They prepped it for SI, they're ready to play on it, and Bleed just picked into it. That's really interesting.
And Alfama, it has been short and sweet, like the Brazilian treats I had in the halftime show. We've got to keep on moving. Let's get into map 1 with Lynx and Stux.
Well, Ian, for a rematch of, well, the very game Bleed went home on in Atlanta and what sent SSG to the main stage, I hope this is anything but short and sweet here in Brazil. As he said, I am Lynx, joined by Stokes, and we got a quick Bleed game earlier, Sam. 7-2, 7-3 against Los. For this, two of the most entertaining teams, personality-wise, in all of Rainbow Six, it's got to be a three-mapper.
Oh, yeah, most definitely, especially with the way that I think, not Dez, but, oh my goodness gracious, his name is
You've been hitting the table
right
a lot, I've noticed. This is like a new trait you've picked up.
I don't know what it is about it either,
like
but Guz called Reaps, Keanu Reaps earlier. Hell of a call right there, but hopefully we can see some more action-packed stuff out of him and the rest of Bleed up against SSG, because honestly, that's the only thing that worries me about this series potentially going to 3 maps is how dang good can Bleed play against SSG? And I mean, what else would you expect? Spacestation is in the server. There's got to be conversation.
Liam... Ashton just actually typed up a whole essay in the chat right there. You don't often see it go more than one line. That's impressive. How y'all are gonna... I don't even know. Anyway, Bandface is going through. As the desk talked about, we have Clubhouse as our pick by Bleed, and this is a map where they have shown...
SB says, calm down, bro. It's just Bleed.
And it is Bleed on a map that, as the desk mentioned, they have shown quite a bit of footage on. They had that 7-4 loss against W7M, and also an incredibly close game against Virtus Pro, with a lot of stuff SSG can look at, counter-strat, especially as Bleed are starting on the defense, where they struggled to find the right balance between getting aggressive, taking gunfights, contesting map control, while also playing passive.
I don't know what duo was in here before. Was it Ace and Dez? Yeah, neither one of them are tall. Why was this sitting so high? This chair, I was kicking my feet, y'all. This is ridiculous. Listen, both of them have they're like 4 inches shorter than I am. I had to lower it down. I don't know what the heck that is. Somebody likes, I guess, kicking their feet while they're sitting in the office chair.
I stand some. Oh, also, little lore behind that.
Oh, the gar?
Yep, at Atlanta, Ashen was obsessed with a garfish. I don't really know what that is.
You don't know what a garfish is?
I mean, I can presume it's a fish.
If I remember right, this might be off base. If I remember right, it's basically like a pseudo alligator fish.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fish.
It's weird. It's got like an elongated nose.
It's a pseudo alligator. It's a fish.
I mean, yeah, but like,
listen,
you know,
I'm tired of fish thinking they're all that. Okay, like fish. You're swimming. We evolved past you years ago, okay? Stop trying to compare yourself to alligators and stuff.
Yeah, dunk on the fish.
Yeah, dude, honestly, you know who really needed to be taken down a peg? Fish.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Fish can't even dribble.
I mean, Bleed have certainly been trying to bring Fish back. We've seen the presence of Joel and, of course, the presence in the early game.
Here we go.
Oven deciding to peek this secret window very early on, but just ducking below it. Not finding anything, he'll back off instead. No damage exchange either way.
I don't really like this from them, especially because they actually have a pretty solid entry, all except for Asphy, who's 8-25 for some odd reason at this event, as their breach player as well. I mean, that's just a little egregious. Just gonna put that out there. So we'll see if that obviously rears its ugly head here, as SSG will be trying to flaunt things here on the offensive side. J9O attempting to try and chase these players down. The best player on Spacestation so far throughout this tournament. 1.19 rating for him, and plus 36 on his KD spread.
Mentioning Asphy on Bleed is very good because both of these teams have had solid performances across the roster, but whereas SSG has one player that's a step above the rest, this has been a particularly poor tournament for Asphy, who has consistently, I believe in the VP game, a couple maps where he was barely struggling to get more than one kill, it seemed at times. It's been very, very difficult playing this tournament so far for Asphy. But Bleed, I mentioned that in that VP game, they struggled to find the right balance between aggression and passivity. Well, at least right now, it's 5 players all on the bomb site, and they're trying to let the utility do the talking. It's working good for the moment. The impact trick works, but the sheer number of X-Kairos seems to have outlasted the supply of impact grenades Bleed are willing to part with, at least.
Well, not only that, but, I mean, just look at the lineup for SSG. No matter what, that hatch was inevitably getting open. They have quadrupled down in their hard breach. successfully as well, as they've gotten that hatch open. Didn't really have to reach for those other tidbits to try and solve that equation. So now they'll work their way into this basement. Fultz assisting with the keep a barrier here as Ashen will hold the longer line, just trying to get some access here to the church wall, and it'll work out very well. Any nitro cells here on the defense. We do have one. It's gonna be in the pocket of Turdsta here. Impacts out. Not gonna be able to get that other Selma though, so the right-hand wall will be transferable. Reversible, rather. And is hot and cold. He's going to swing in through. He might have just dropped down that hatch right there, as he'll be able to at least trade out one and down another in behind AK. It's going to get discovered by Fultz here.
Jade, I know trying to find that position on the very AK you just mentioned. How rare has it been this tournament to see the attack making so much progress? Sure, it's still a 3v3, but Janino's found his way into blue. SSG have opened up the church wall, and Reeves is really struggling to find impact inside of the site. Asking you shall receive. We've talked about Aspie having a poor tournament, and he's in ace territory in the very first round. Fultz finds Reeves. Both bleed players, everyone in the lobby on reduced HP. But Bleed have the man advantage. Are they going to go for the retake? No, instead, Aspie will try to stick the diffuser.
Nice.
He falls off as Reeps falls. And the moment to go for that retake upstairs is gone. Aspie will waste too much time to push up the main stairs. He needs Fultz to make a mistake, needs to get this gunfight, needs to get this 5th kill, and Fultz is not giving a single inch, backing up, playing passive. Ashen with the trash talk in chat. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily Aspie making a particularly poor decision. Instead, it's Fultz playing this extremely well, as he should. SSG take the first round on Clubhouse on the attacking side.
You know, Carter, usually when we come to these events, I'm the loudest person here. And you quickly took that crown from me when you and I started casting together, because you're kind of a yapper. But Ashen, on the other hand, I think he might be coming for the crown, my friend. A lot of conversation from him, but overall, great strategy here from SSG. I think the thing that I love the most about that basement setup there from them is that they actually tried to gather every aspect of the basement, kind of making things look like they want the church, kind of making things look like they want armory, and then hot and cold all of a sudden bursts into sight, kills one, knocks one, gets traded out, but it sets up SSG for so much success in the latter half of that round.
And I think the amount of ground they were able to gain, even though it ultimately came down to a 1v2, though spearheaded in large part by Aspie, going crazy on the AK position. Quick aside, that's why I love the Azami there. You have that Kiba to block the blue angle, even sometimes to block the angle from the hatch as well. Really just a great spot to play with Azami on the board. But SSG were able to acquire so much. Move into blue, open up the church wall, get the bomb down inside of Arsenal. When we've seen on Clubhouse, one of the most defender-sided maps at this tournament, a dramatic shift from where it used to be. Teams struggle to even get those hatches open at times, it seemed, let alone open up church wall or move into Arsenal and make all this progress. Basement has been a difficult bomb site to crack for a lot of these teams since the meta changes, and now SSG, even if it came close, have shown a very solid first attack with a lot of great pieces to build upon.
Yeah, as we sit right now, Clubhouse is going to be our 3rd most defender-sided map, sitting at 62%. The basement, Church Arsenal, 57%. Master Gym, 69%. So pretty wild right there. Cash CCTV to round it off at 62. I highly doubt we see a bar stage, but just because I said that, it will most definitely happen. Jane, I know, does have a breaching charge in hand as he's going to assist with SSG, clearing things out, trying to get some pressure on the CCTV/cache setup, as it will be clearing across this top floor to try and gain access to construction to assist with this master push.
I hope we see some good counterplay by Bleed right here, because sure, we might not have seen this exact push out of SSG,
very
but
well done.
I was going to say, forced on this blitz, it's a very common strategy SSG will bring out on every map, but a very good clear by SSG early on. 2 rounds in a row now. We see them get that opening pick. Previously, I believe it was hot and cold, finding a kill inside of the site. Now we have Ashen with the follow-up on the player inside of bar.
Love the identification here from SSG that Aspie was isolated inside of bar, and they immediately answer it. Nice little pinch there. He was not expecting that move in from... lucky there for Fultz, but they were not expecting that move in from Strip that ended up gathering that kill for Spacestation. Still have one more exothermic in Fultz's pocket. No secondary EMPs or anything of the sort to try and assist, though, so they're going to have to try and find an answer to this jacuzzi wall.
Maybe they'll prioritize CCTV and cache in the early game. Jane, I know, just holding that angle has found Reeps. Taking a gunfight with the player sitting inside a garage. There's a lot of utility to create a secondary position that those players can fall back to. You have the Kiba barricades inside of construction now. Forrest not sprinting, as we often see the blitz, instead making his way forward, but look at the coordination we're waiting to see. Castle barricade about to open up, gets an angle. Potential position, Hubbin is playing. Forrest expertly dodges that C4. backing up just a little bit. But there's still some work for SSG to be done. Remember, that Jacuzzi wall, the exothermic was bandit tricked. It was shut down. The progress SSG has made beyond clearing the cash position has been very minimal.
Well, the beauty of the situation is now is all they're going to need is balcony control and then to just base this off of force. But he's going to take a lot of damage here, and he's actually going to get stuck inside of a crossfire. In from logistics. Hot and cold to pick up one, though. Ashen working his way in down low. More than likely going to try and work his way up main stairs while all this action is going on. J90 now at the helm over here with that case down in front of him. Volts does have the opportunity to work his way over to the balcony and add that extra angle into this play. And here's Ashen on main, just like we talked about, and that's what you expect. SSG are pressuring every single point across the entire site, and it's really difficult for them to try and gather that information. They just did not expect it, especially with Ashen with two backstabs inside of that singular round.
That round, I think, is a great example of how far SSG have come from Atlanta, where in rounds like that, when they have a 5v3, they start over-peaking. They start,
communication is so
exactly.
good.
They start getting a little antsy, but right there, as you said, look at how close J90 was to the rest of those defenders. He might as well have been in a crossfire. He might as well have been in the middle of multiple of those defenders, but they still have the communication and the coordination to send Ashen to go for the backstab. As you said, 2 different times it ended up working out, while also heavily benefiting from the 5v3 they had earlier. That's got to be an insane conversion when you look at this. They get the 5v3, they don't have Jacuzzi wall open, they're in construction, but have not cleared out the players who's still holding that spot, but by rotating players in the right positions, and of course finishing off with a nice pre-fire on the guy in Logi, SSG are able to bring around over the line that needed absolute discipline and A game from everybody involved.
That was very Vamos indeed, Ashen. I 100% agree with that. As the level of coordination there was absolutely insane. I'm sure a couple of our more keen-eyed viewers also saw that yellow ping on the player inside of bar. Every single level that you would expect out of a professional grade team is being met and exceeded right now by Spacestation. That little graphic is really cool.
I was about to say,
that was super dope.
I don't know if I've noticed that.
Oh! Hey, production, what are we doing?
Are we being invaded?
What's happening? I'm scared.
Just we know what we do know what's going on. We know it's an ad for R6 Small.
Oh.
That's what I thought it was.
I didn't know.
I saw the portal. I mean, I'm assuming.
You know something that I don't.
I just think it's a cute little graphic.
It's super dope, dude. I hope they make like stickers out of that or something. I want them all over my iPad.
Ooh, you get the you get a little portal, like two portals on one side, like one guy half out, the other guy half in, and then it's like sledge or castle in the middle. Dude, we're cooking right now, actually.
Yo, Ubisoft, hit us up.
Dude, we got ideas. We got the day off tomorrow. Like, let's make something happen.
Oh, more impacts here. As this is always going to be the name of the game when it comes to the basement, folks. That's why Spacestation is constantly bringing so much hard breach when it comes to this scenario. Not only that, but also lets them expand their horizons, Carter, where you don't have to be so dedicated to one area. Oh, we opened up Arsenal, but now it's an issue, right? No, they can open up absolutely everything and be like, well, what makes the most sense? And then they go for that instead.
Bleed are still wasting a lot of time in the kitchen hatch, though, and so in terms of opening up those options, SSG are being presented obstacles to overcome. But almost all of Bleed's impact grenades are gone again. Hoven kept his the last time, saving them for the church wall once SSG used the Selma charges to open up some angles. It was mostly successful, but one full hole was fully open by SSG. J90 in the same position he was before. On the blue stairs, we often see, I feel like a lot of the superstar players on teams. I remember Newer's playing this position on OXG and NA, J90 playing it on SSG. This is where you want your #1 aimer, your most mechanically skilled, to try and cut somebody off as they're rotating around Gen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Other thing to remember about that Gen position, if they don't reinforce things properly on that backside, Carter, you can get some disgusting crosses into Church. There's been many a time where either I have been the one changing someone's fate or I have died just simply trying to run across Church, get into Moto or something like that as Kaid. I mean, sometimes it can be pretty egregious, so there's something to consider there. Pulse is going to back off, and a nice discovery there from Aspi as Ashen just drops through that armory hatch. J90 also gunned down inside of blue, but my God, man, he actually got reaps on that. Only like 3 rounds that he ended up shooting. Forrest will go down 2, and these 2 supporting angles not working out for the last 2 remaining members of Spacestation.
No, Hot and Cold still stuck on top of the blue hatch. He drops down. There's a Kiba barricade in his way. I wonder if they know, because he did let off a shot as he fell. Surely they know the position now. Spots one, but Turd's able to cut that off completely. Bolt's just baiting for kills at this point, a 1v4. Very difficult, especially as Bleed are moving and playing passive behind these Kiba barricades. Nice little flick. Boost the stat line just a bit, and might very well end this round 5-0. Okay. Ashby with a two-piece, I suppose, but I have to say for Bleed there, even though the impact trick on the church wall is a little cumbersome, these Kiba barricades have been putting in the work for this defensive setup.
Yeah, most definitely. The biggest thing there is that SSG did not get the opener the same way they did the last time. You know, it was a trade game instead, whereas previously Hot and Cold had that nice kill and then was also able to down a player over on AK, and that practically opens up the entirety of Armory. You only have to deal with that other player that was trying to pick up that player that had been downed, but obviously for this one, Spacestation not able to garner as many kills and Bleed able to stand tall instead.
And Ashby, all 5 of his kills so far, 6 of his kills, excuse me, on this church bomb site, a 4K and a double. His kill opening up that round for Bleed and then ending it with the first and the last kills of that round. And I think more close to what should have happened before in the previous round, because a lot of the positions from Bleed were there, but we had a huge Ashby 4K that I think overshadowed a lot of the actual moving parts that were existent in that setup. Reaps contesting blue, and then of course you also have the players watching main stairs, the Azami.
Admin, they're doing it sideways.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
It's such a cute ad. Like, it keeps distracting me. It's so nice.
It's so adorable. I genuinely think production is just doing it to mess with us now.
Maybe.
Like,
You're like, Link's just making you point. Throw up the cute ad.
it's like,
And I'm like, it is nice.
guys, we are, at least I'll speak for myself here, egregious amount of ADHD. You cannot do this to me. I'm like,
That's the funny thing. We're both easily distracted at times, and it's like bright color.
I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it.
I'm gonna keep chasing. I'm gonna go after that car. Bleed going after a gym bedroom defensive win after the failure of the previous attempt that got SSG to the 2-0 position. But all SSG's wins so far have been close in terms of how they won the round with the control that they had. Still a lot of Bleed setup intact, but SSG making really good calls on that previous gym attack to end up taking it. Specifically Ashen going up main stairs, in no small part because this jacuzzi wall was not opened up. And I think that's why we see Fultz migrating away from the Thermite to the Maverick, so they're not susceptible to that bandit trick, but could still open up that jacuzzi wall. And they still have the Ace-2 to dedicate a Selma or 2 to the plat wall. Like the little adjustment by SSG, nullifying the bandit trick from Mentalist.
Oh, early pop there from Reeves. Just to try and make sure nobody was backing up that information on the stairwell with that drone that we saw. J9 will get rid of another one, and yes, indeed, folks, this is going to be another master offense here. So SSG going for a similar clear, but they have a few different options, especially for Ashen, as he's going to be rocking the Rotero drones this time, had the IQ previously, and Forrest more likely going to be looking to try and lock up some stairwells with that gridlock. So, let's see if we can get down to the nitty-gritty here. J9 working his way through Cash. Already forced them off of this area. Trying to work construction into the fold, and Ashen's gonna go down on the window. Are they aware of this, though? Forced to work his way up to try and battle off Hubbin, and it works out successfully, but Bleed, they'll double down, and Hot and Cold, not quick. Oh, I almost said it, but I was wrong. Hot and Cold was quick enough to the trigger to take out that player hopping out of construction.
The Narnia cut off the redundancy to make sure that Ashen can't be finished off or run out on from construction. Huge pickup by Fultz. All turd left, as you just said. Again, it seems like SSG are stalling out. It seems like they're struggling to gain control. And in a matter of seconds, we go from an even 4v4, a 3v4 technically with Ashen down on the balcony, and now SSG so far in the lead, so much control of the bomb site and the angles surrounding it that Turd has no way back into this round. 3-1 for SSG. 2 rounds on Gym Bedroom that I'm just scratching my head like, how did they come up with that?
It's so very well done. You know, even making sure to have the redundancy there as well, like you said, because when you're playing against teams like this, when you're playing against people that are hyper aggressive, it might seem pretty far-fetched to just have somebody off on an odd angle holding a window, but sometimes they'll just gift you things because they know, like in a situation like this, they know that if Ashen is down and they're able to go out there, get that fight onto the 1v1, player, like the gridlock that we saw from Forest, there's a capability to get 2 big kills there and completely change the round for the defense. But SSG, more than aware of the stylistic choices of Bleed, and they're more than capable to strategize around that.
And we're seeing, unfortunate for Bleed fans, similar trends to their previous clubhouse defenses. They try to get aggressive, they try to go for those peaks, and the opposing team punishes them, whether it's W7M, Virtus Pro, or now SSG. They have shown that they can adapt, that they can play more passive, but right now they're facing similar trends. Asvi getting caught fighting that middle balcony player. Hot and Cold, as you just mentioned, Sam. Punishing the run out of construction. Very good reactions by SSG and counter-stratting what Bleed are going to do and what their tendencies are. But as we start getting into the latter part of this half, we need to see Bleed start making some adjustments, trying some new ideas. It's a shame because we're starting to get to the first attempt of the CCTV bomb site, and we're already on round 5. So we'll see what they can do here. We see the mirror window set up, one down below, inside of Lounge, actually, watching Garage, and of course the mirror window on the main wall. And this is what it's used for. If it gets popped, it makes hard breaching this wall a lot more difficult because you could have a C4, somebody holding the angle. It basically makes walking on plat wall difficult, let alone opening it.
It's so funny, too, because for a very long time, you know, you're playing a ranked game or whatever, somebody puts a mirror window on the main breach, you're like,
oh,
are you trolling? Are you dumb? Like, what is happening here? But nowadays, you've kind of reinvented the wheel. You're no longer trolling, but you are if you didn't consider nitro selling or impacting out of it.
Yes, but in this case, if you're Bleed or SSG, this mirror window makes a whole lot of sense. It's difficult to counter sometimes, and Bleed have also forced their hand a little bit. They've said, we also have this presence in Lounge down below.
But I like this. SSG, there's already been an obstacle put up over here on plat wall, Carter. So they immediately answer this. There is no, oh, we need to take 45 seconds to decide what we're going to do next. They immediately start throwing things over to construction. There's drones rolling around in cons. We have Ashen and Master. J9O's working his way in here. Hot and Cold's down low. SSG, a lot of consideration and a very quick response to what Bleed's strategy is. And it's almost gotten him a kill, but Reaps, he's so damn good in moments like this.
No
way. Forest is all the way downstairs. And once again, we'll say it, redundancy. A beautiful moment there for him. He knows that they more than likely want to escape after they've droned things out. He'll be able to find Reaps as he drops down the bar hatch.
I love that play from Bleed. You have the barricades to give Reaps the sound effect if somebody peeks from pool. Somebody does, he gets the kill. But as you said, SSG simply outplaying Bleed at this point. It seems like they know what Bleed are going to do before they're going to do it at times. They've got those counters. They have that forethought. And it's now got them this 4v4, but it's happened multiple times at this point. SSG are an even man count. They don't have all the control they need, some but not all of it, and somehow they find ways out of these rounds by communicating and coordinating. They have the Candelas as well that Ashen can throw in, all 4 in his pocket to make a flood in through some of these windows and walls a lot better. But without this plat wall presence, Sam, it's still going to be difficult, but Foltz with a clean rotation. Still even man count though. Foltz going huge on the plat wall mirror window that Bleed opened up in the first place. Now we get the flood. SSG back into it. Turd in a 1vx again. The 30 to 20 second execute is where SSG are the strongest when they have to abide by instinct, make the plays on thought and feel alone, guaranteeing themselves at minimum a 4-2 winning half.
What a team right now, man. Every single step of the way, they are making the right decision, Carter. Even when things are getting antsy, when the anxiety starts to shoot through the roof, you're sub-minute, you still have this execution go off. Everybody is chomping at the bit to try and rush into the site. But you even see Ashen, one of the most energetic people on this roster, put that Candela away for a second, let Foltz work his way over to the plat wall, and Foltz makes the most out of the situation. A 2K from him in that position. A huge moment here that opened the floodgates for Spacestation to work their way in, especially with that kill onto Hoven. Hoven really needed to calm down there because that garage position matters so much to this push. It's usually the first thing that's considered when you see CCTV.
The way to describe this attacking half now for SSG, if there are constraints in the round, if there are problems, they're not necessarily solving anything or getting everything they want, but they have been so good throughout this tournament, but in this game as a current example of reading the situation and maximizing everything they can get out of what's presented to them. All right, we couldn't open the plat wall. That's fine. We're not going to stall out and try to open it. We'll move to something else and instead use the mirror window in the late round to basically, as you guys flood in and start creating chaos, Folt, can get kills on players rotating because they probably, like they've noticed, plat wall being closed, they'll get a bit comfortable. They might get a bit antsy, and I should be able to get kills. And now Folt's 9-1 throughout this half so far. Having a solid tournament. Sure, J9O might be at the top, but Folt is still one of those players that can pop off and is really thriving in this lurk, more passive position, while players like maybe J9O or, I was going to say Hot and Cold, but, well, with the kill Hot and Cold got all the way outside Metal Balcony earlier. A little bit different. Hot and Cold still just chilling outside of that jacuzzi wall. I can't believe I tried to give credit to Hot and Cold for getting aggressive when Hot and Cold loves these long angles, man, outside of the jacuzzi wall, outside of the plat wall. Constantly just holding these particular angles.
Hot and Cold working his way in here. Ashen as well. Some discovery work to be had inside of logistics, but it's going to be a trade here. It's a double kill for him as Turtle go down. Very nice find here. So continue to work ahead. Bleed doing their best to try and stem the bleeding. Looks so far
man.
Damn good, Turd. A quad kill from him. J9O would be the ace if he can find it, but and be fed to the wolves down here. A nice little find now. Just remind you guys, J9O has been no slouch this entire event, so there's a moment of opportunity here for him to continue adding to his tail as a professional player. Hey, son, remember the one time that I 1v3'd against Bleed? No? Well, here's the clip. J9O working his way across this top floor. Turt's actually going to keep himself inside of logistics here, working his way around. J9O. It's time for the duel of fates, one could say. Turt's going to run his way through, trying to work his way away from bees.
Yes,
I believe that they have been able to secure this case now, and J9O more than aware of this. There's 3 drones active right now and 1 in his pocket with 50 seconds remaining. There is a world where he's able to work a little bit more info into this, but if you guys saw that yellow ping earlier, there is a drone around inside of Church, and this is the thing about Spacestation. So very scary when it comes to this info matrix. He notices the EDDs as well. J9O, what are you not capable of?
Well, maybe walking through fire. Vulcan pack blowing up, EDDs in his way. He had 1 minute and 20 seconds to make this 1v3 work, but now down to the final 20. Hoven is looking to try and get himself into a position J9O can't account for. Still 3 of those canisters in J9O's pocket. But J9 has to start baiting out this plant. He's got the intel that nobody's there, but make a decision. You got to start baiting this out. Hoven on a potentially long rotation. He doesn't have time to go for the kill. It's going to be at the split second, but no! At the last second as J9O gets the bomb down. Bleed playing the time so well that round, and even with some good intel going SSG's way, it is still the patience that gives Bleed their worthy reward.
Oh, and that was a scary one. Hoven milliseconds away from having to take a gunfight there with J9O.
Such a solid 1vx from, of course, Bleed to get that half, but man, Sam, such a close one. I do believe we might have somebody coming up. We got a little Frenchman to talk. Alfama, my boy Leo.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, right, we're looking at a masterclass from SSG on Clubhouse. They had a clear game plan coming into it. They have a very versatile lineup so far. They bring Hard Breach, Buck with flashes, and then a power position removal operator, Verif and Grim, or sometimes Blitz. Now, look at the way Bleed is playing the defense. The only traps that they're throwing at the opponent right now are utility-based. It's Azami, it's making the side stronger, it's Castle, it's Goyo. It's only utility-based. And every time they try to be more aggressive, they got punished, right? Look at the last round, they actually were the closest one to winning it, and they won it thanks to Turret getting a 4-kill. But other than that, utility wasn't good enough. I mean, the SSG just went away around it and found a great way to adapt. So what I want to see from Bleed right now that they switch to attack, is be more disruptive, be faster paced, go for cheesy plays. You have nothing to lose now. That's what they need to bring to the table, something that's new, that's fresh, that's not expected.
Well, Leo, quick thoughts, you think it'll work?
Honestly, so far, I think SSG's prep are super well prepped, and I think they will win this.
All right, well, thank you very much, Alfama. We'll see if your prediction is right on the desk after this, because as we are getting into the round, we have some of those cheesy operators he mentioned, the Ying, the Grim, and the Osa, starting to make a bit of a re-entrance into the meta. Of course, we've seen her on some isolated sites. For example, if you're attacking Armory Archives, moving in from the east side to get a plant down inside of Archives, for example. But we've seen her on Oregon, now we're seeing her on Club, or seeing Forrest go for a big 2K, but there's a cutoff inside of Kitchen. No, he is not getting away with that one, but he's cut down the Grim. Well played indeed.
Turd, don't tell him that. Stop it.
I mean, listen, I don't know if Turd is being truthful or not, or serious or not,
but maybe.
Maybe, but taking down that Grim, if cheesy operators are the name of the game, that's one of them gone.
Yeah, most definitely. You just never want to give Forrest any props when he pulls a Fofos on. That's the thing. Whenever he starts doing this craziness, I'm like, come on, man, what are you doing? But he's never going to stop anyways. It doesn't matter. He's been doing this for 5 years. I mean, I don't even know how long I've played / casted this guy. It's absolutely insane. So, and I don't think he's ever been one to do things with grace when it comes to Siege. He's always loud in your face and makes the most out of situations that a lot of other people just simply wouldn't even be capable of. So very well done there from Forrest. This will take down Turd. 4-2 in favor of SSG as they start off this defensive half. It's going to be a basement defense for them. A couple of things implemented here that I really like. First things first, well, my discs out of J90, but on top of that, hot and cold with the Fearnox gas. It's going to matter a lot for Bleed on this entry. Yeah, you can ying things out and try and get these players to move, but if you end up stepping into one of these traps, you're not going to be able to see either.
You have to hope this push works out. If they're able to dodge that F now, we see the Ying sprint on through, but Mentalist goes down. That's the guy with the diffuser. Finished off now, 3v2 established in no small part by Ashen with that huge double on one of the Arsenal boxes, but now Asphy pushes on in. Knows somebody's on that box, but he's completely unread. Reaps now goes for the drop. The sound cue gives away his position. SSG swarming around the remaining Buck on such low HP. Diffuser control in hand. The cheese ops do not work. SSG, as Alfama said, very well crafted this first defense. Up 5-2 on Bleed's pick.
Man, that Fearnox gas is so annoying, isn't it? You're like, oh, we've done everything. I'm going to be able to enter the site and take these gunfights, and I can't see. I cannot see the target that I am trying to shoot at. And, well, Ashen especially make the most out of these sprinting situations that we saw out of Bleed as they were trying to get on the gas, but took a wrong turn and crashed into a tree here. I'm going to call a timeout now to try and figure out this situation, as I don't think the strategy was exactly bad, Carter. I think that they were able to build things up pretty well. They knew what they wanted to go for, and the execute was at least built upon the back of that precedent. But when you have Ashen on just a normal situation like this from Dummies Box, able to melt 3 people with the Vector, you're never going to find success in that regard.
No, and SSG have that individual strength to match the strategic abilities they're able to bring, because just as we saw Bleed really make good use of those Kiba barricades in their Church Arsenal defenses, even if the first attempt wasn't successful, we see SSG bring the same thing alongside F-Not Mines to stop somebody walking or dropping down Blue Hatch. You have players watching the blue hallway behind those mirror windows to make sure that nobody can again gain ground and push in, whereas SSG were able to find some of those gaps a little bit more, whereas Bleed were not necessarily looser, but felt that they required more focus to really shut SSG out of some of those rounds. SSG, it felt like everyone was on the same page. They had the utility to make it work, and still Bleed were able to find some momentum. Don't get me wrong, there were some good moments, but that strategy combined with everyone on SSG playing their role led for a really brilliant round 7.
Hell yeah, it did. Now Spacestation 2 rounds away from taking their pick here on Dubhouse. The roster has changed a whole heck of a lot from what it once was, especially with Lycan at the helm. But still, whenever you see that logo and you see Clubhouse, there's just something it does to you, doesn't it? Spacestation trying to bring this one back to bear. It's like old times. Up 3 rounds right now, and so far so good. It's going to be an offense leading into master bedroom here for Bleed, and I especially like the setup here that they've brought. Good amount of hard breach, but those Rotero drones, Carter. That's what matters the most to me here. I really like to see Flores on sites like this because you can get so much done with him. You can do things as simple as blowing open a wall and making a rotation for yourself, or you can get rid of those castle barricades, things along those lines. It's just a really good shout in moments like this.
In the wake of the frag grenade change, he becomes a must pick in some certain situations against specific strategies. So good pick by Mentalist, as you just mentioned. And with how much both of these teams have been running Azami, we'll have a lot of options alongside the castle barricades for what Mentalist wants to use those Rotero drones for. Very early retreat by SSG, actually, outside of CCTV and Cash. They have pulled back very early on. We saw Bleed, I think, still holding this position very aggressively, even with a minute left, whereas SSG can still contest it. Fultz inside of construction, for example, but there's no actual physical presence there. And even then, look at how far back Fultz is playing, really relying on a long angle, not into Cash, but just holding construction. That is a little bit risky, I will say, especially now that the Selma's opened. With that impact, I believe, missing. Bleed now have a powerful angle to look for this setup. Oh, man.
That was definitely not supposed to happen. You can even see Mentalist. He was a little bit of a distance away from that hatch. It just so happened that that was a hell of a toss there out of J90. A perfect arc lands at the feet of Mentalist and will blow him sky high. Cadella's now for Bleed as they have to try and work their way into this site down a man. Not only that, but they have to deal with some pretty considerable utility, especially with these mirror windows implemented. Reeves trying to work his way in. Ashen's going to go down to Hub, and still an opportunity here, especially after Aspie gets one. They know where J90 is, and Bleed. Finally, these guns come to life. Oh my, Forrest. Almost able to get it done, but Turd knows what he must do in the moment, and he'll swing back through to assist his teammates on the angle.
Hub able to find that first pick on Ashen is great because of, well, the follow-up that was heavily telegraphed by Bleed. They knew Hot and Cold was sitting behind the weight rack. So if they were able to pair that with a second kill and then, of course, get the secure the one that they had intel on, that's a 4v3 right there. After Mentalist falling to that C4 as he goes on the...
with this flash, man. You can't do that. Oh, no. It's always the little things with Siege, man. You think something as simple as, I'm a good distance away from this. I'm going to toss a flash down there before I get my drone out. If it's a good enough player across from you, they're like, oh, this guy is sitting exactly here, and I'm going to blow him up with a nitro cell. But at the end of the day, didn't really matter for Bleed, as the guns were very hot from construction.
Yeah, very hot from construction, and again, able to get that 4v3, collapse into the bomb site, and then find those remaining kills. Again, similar to those SSG attacking rounds, really right at the door, struggling to find an entry point, but I have to imagine finding Hot and Cold on that weight rack is really the key to opening up that execute for Bleed, taking the advantage, and then moving on forward. And moving forward in site rotation, CCTV and Cash for SSG. Before, there was a mirror window on the plat wall that Bleed tried to shut out SSG from finding a way into CCTV. No mirror present for SSG here, despite it being present on, I believe, both bomb sites previously. Still being a very powerful operator on Clubhouse overall. It'll instead be a more, in all likelihood, traditional method of hard breach denial, but I also think Forrest is probably not putting any bandit batteries on this wall because, well, they're probably betting on Bleed bringing a Maverick, as most teams feel obligated to do since the introduction of Tuber out.
Absolutely. And a good call as well, because, I mean, well, look at the wall. What's happening right now? Mentalist, I mean, torching things up here. Drone in sight as well. Might be discovering something. Hubbing with an early use on this Candela. I don't know if he's just trying to get action out of Space Station, seeing if he can potentially get somebody to try and swing through. At least with that pre-fire, that's what makes the most sense. Oh no. Mentalist. What have we done? Reaps goes down. I don't think he's even going to try and fix the wall. Can we get a look at this wall real quick after this little engagement here? That'd be great. Forrest is going to be able to at least take out one, but is there a couple pixels on this that have locked this up and now he's just going to have to abandon ship? I think that's exactly what's happened here. The left-hand side looks torched well, but I think there's a... Yeah, I think it's on the bottom. Yep, it's on the bottom right there. That little pixel is what is holding up the entire wall right now, and he can't go fix it, Carter, because the man is in the window. That little bit, just that tiny little bit, And that's on map tricking correctly, folks. And that's a round based off that precedent. Spacestation annihilate them over on the master side, all because they can't even work that angle on plat.
You talk about small things. I mean, we saw in the G2 phase game yesterday, Goo Mine stop freezer pushes. We've seen small little engagements or missed shots define rounds. But it doesn't get more siege than that when literally a pixel of a reinforced wall stops the Maverick trick. They can't go back because they're exposing themselves to angles. That's the risk with Maverick. Holes go both ways. You might very well die if you go back to it. And of course, with the pressure SSG also had on this other side, because the strategy was, all right, they're probably going to get plat wall open because of this Maverick. We'll hold construction, we'll hold bedroom, just in case they decide to go on the backside. And then, of course, if they open up plat wall and rush, we have the redundancy, the positions to fall back to the bomb site. But because Bleed couldn't open that wall, they had to run into all of SSG's setup.
Yep.
All of what SSG had previously. Just a complete series of unfortunate events that ended up forcing Bleed's hand and basically giving SSG match point by the smallest of mistakes.
You gotta love it. You have got to love it. You and I always talk about the fact that, Carter, this game is legitimately bullet chess, even in the verbiage, right? And that's it, once again, right there. It is always the little things. Yeah, you can obviously fundamentally be playing the game incorrectly, but when you have good teams like this, Reeps with a hell of a shot up against J90. Took him a second, but still able to find the heady. But either way, always comes down to those little things, doesn't it? That time around, it just so happens to be the torch job there from Mentalist as he torches the round for Bleed.
Great opening pick to cut down J90 on the fallback. As most of these SSG players are on the side, with the exception of, I believe, somebody inside of Dirt. Yes, I see Fultz right at the top. Yes, indeed. Just a little angle, little cheeky angle, all the way up onto, is that the jacuzzi balcony? Well, either way, still an angle onto the outside. There's 3 players actually on the site right now, and with no control being contested on that top floor, Bleed should be able to make their way down to the middle floor and start opening up these hatches in good time. No Kane on the board, so will have to be the impact trick from Hot and Cold and Ashen. Aspie. Remember when I said Fultz was peeking outside? Well, Aspie found it.
Spacestation's ability to just go for things and be like, all right, well, if it doesn't work out, I'm sure we can still solve it. I love it, man. They're always looking for the next step in their strategy. They're not just going to play patiently and just do the fundamentals. They're always looking to add something into this chemical makeup that can be the game-changing moment for them. Once again, here it is. Active play, Nitro sellout. It'll take down Reeves. They'll stop the hatch play. Minute and 20 seconds remaining. This timer's going to start eating at Bleed. Reeves might be confirmable, but doesn't seem like they're going to be able to do too much here. Forrest not aware of that going on upstairs. He will get picked back up. But now this angle work is going to be even more scary given the circumstances of his health.
It'll be a difficult spot to keep going for those skeleton keys, but I also think with this hatch open, they might feel a little safer. Good utility clear from Bleed to clear out the shield, directly contesting Blue. Of course, there are still the mirror windows, which is the big problem for Bleed at the moment when they go for that flood downstairs, just as it was when SSG were on the attacking side. Finding a way to deal with those. I like this rotation. Before, Mentalist was going down Blue. This time, he goes for the much more standard kitchen drop. There is still Forrest who could go for the swing, but Mentalist has already worked his way all the way into the bomb site. We need to see counterplay from SSG at this point. Can Ashen find an angle to land this impact grenade? The coverage from Reeps is simply too good. Mentalist follows up on the fall off with another kill. Bleed now have the advantage at 2K. He even pops the shield to give himself cover. Look at that quick heads up play. The brain on Mentalist. It's in the name, for God's sake. Quick little 3K to keep Bleed in the game.
That was brilliant right there. So smart. I'm sure a couple people were like, oh, he punched it, he can't see. But that's the point, guys. He doesn't want them to see him. They have no idea when he's peeking now. And that was so well done there from Mentalist. Can play that situation, especially as that man count starts to dwindle for SSG. He can just play it off of audio, play it off of his teammates' communication, because they more than likely have a few things around the site to be able to assist with that. Still had 4 drones active, so very well done from him, especially given the circumstances of what has been happening to Mentalist throughout this series so far, right? And man, that's some good aim, bro. Some good aim. You saw Jinxie get announced, right?
I did, yes I did.
My boy, we're in Champion now, baby. Hell yeah.
We're very much not in Copper.
Yeah, so we're in Champion.
We are not in Copper. That was a very big brain play with the Osa, and 1 kill before this round, now 4 and 8. I'm sure maybe you're saying, oh, 4 and 8, not as impressive KD, but listen. When you got Asphie having a good game, you got Turd, you got Hoven, you got these 4 great players on the roster. Somebody's got to do it, and Mentalist is still showing up in games like against W7M where, what was the game? What was the map? Oh, Oregon, where Mentalist had a life game to get that map 7-5. Also on this map, getting a huge 4K, moving through the Jacuzzi wall against, I believe, VP. This guy can do it. He can do it all, and he's been around long enough to basically have us all be like, yeah, you know, classic Mentalist play right there.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, he's practically our Siege dad.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this guy was on one of the best versions of the Fnatic roster all the way back in the day, and he's just constantly been working on his craft, and it's worked out extremely well for him. Definitely one of my favorite players, especially from the olden days of Siege, so nice to see him still, you know, fighting and finding success. So, going to continue things on here for Bleed as they are still 2 rounds under SSG, trying to force this overtime here on Clubhouse. We'll breach things here on the far CCTV wall, but do remember, this is a basement defense.
And SSG have completely changed the name of the game. Before it was a very passive hold. Now they are contesting the entire map. They have Ashen on the Solas to decimate Bleed's intel game. Ideally, it's actually a minute in. No drone has been found. Instead, they found Ying on drone outside a garage. Great find by Ashen, roaming around on this side of the map. Reaps was also lurking around the kitchen area, but has now fallen back. This is still a great adjustment from SSG. They have been giving a lot of round to Bleed that lets them get their very execute-focused strategy of getting that Osa in the site to go for a plant, of letting Bleed get that to work. Now they have to fight a whole lot more for this control, and look at how much time it's wasting. Before half the round in, we saw Bleed on the ground floor. Now they're still fighting Fultz upstairs, but they found J9O as well. It's cost a lot of time, but Bleed have got the kills to potentially make up for it.
Such a solid cutoff angle. One that you're always going to want to try and favor when you go for that top clear. If you know people are upstairs and these hatches are sealed, or maybe you have somebody implemented inside a bar where they can't drop back, Carter, you can always work that window over here on main into the fold, and they're not going to be able to escape fate. It's a perfect scenario here, and SSG not aware that that player was playing outside. Very well done from Bleed to be able to discover this.
And such solid coordination. Now we need to see the conversion from Bleed of that advantage into a good execute. We don't have the Osa this time just to plant the Talon Shield and then back up. But by the same token, we also don't have any C4s from SSG. All we have are those impact grenades. So somebody's either got to swing on the planter, where Bleed have the advantage, and if their coordination is good enough, should be able to trade that out, or B, those impact grenades have to land perfectly. Forced going for a rotation to strike at Bleed when they're potentially the weakest, right as they're setting up for the execute, right as they're moving onto the site. But that moment might be coming, and I was about to say, forces to rotate back because they've lost Ashen. His gun is needed on the site, and Turd can cut him off. It is only Hot and Cold actually on the site. Forrest can't even get across. The coverage should work. One drops down. Hotten's not even able to down the planter. Excellent round 11 from Bleed. We see adaptation from both teams, but it's Bleed's coordination. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, Bleed's answer to the roam of SSG was absolutely magical right there, Carter. A good amount of pressure, also the understanding of where the fallbacks were going to be, and able to eliminate those players on rotation. This is going to proc a timeout here from SSG as they want to be able to get things done here inside of regulation. And immediately when SSG called their timeout, just like when Bleed called their timeout, it's going to be some conversation points here in the chat as Bleed's like, oh, you guys panicking? What's going on?
I think definitely that's been one of the most successful points of Bleed, has been the fact that not only do they bring a decent level of strategic prowess to the game, but the coordination that Mentalist gives in organizing these 4 young gunners to not only, of course, be in positions to get kills themselves, but find kills that are really beneficial for the entire team.
I actually got a question for a gentleman in the room right now. You guys don't know this, but hey, Zen, do you think that Bleed bring this back and force overtime? Our Aussie boy is saying yes, folks. I think it's a little biased, but that's okay. We enjoy bias casting here, especially when you're not casting this game. You're allowed to be biased. You're allowed to favor your teams. I'm totally not wearing SSG merch right now. That would never be a thing. But Bleed, one round away from forcing overtime here. I think it's a very well-constructed timeout from Space Station. You're at max regulation right now. Your defense on Clubhouse. They're going to go back to the basement, and they're going to try and find an answer here for what strategy they had last time. And honestly, at least at first glance, from looking at this list here, Carter, it looks like we're not going to be going for this roam. We are going to be able to get these hatches, but a lot of this speaks to me in site setup, especially with these ADSs coming in here from Jaeger. We haven't been seeing a lot of play from him at this event, but he will be here inside of our last potential round.
5 seconds to go.
And Bleed realize it and immediately adjust. Mentalist back on the OSA, so I imagine SSG are going to this strategy anticipating Bleed might run that OSA strat back and have specific counters for it. I did like what Ashen tried to do there, but again, the coverage was very, very good from Bleed. He tried to use Akiba to block off the angle, watching Church from the main hallway, and then sprint across and get a timing and stop Mentalist from getting the diffuser down. Of course, he was stopped because, again, Bleed were covering the plant very well, but there was some ideas for small plays they could do in-round to make this work, so I want to see how SSG actually end up dealing with either the blue drop or the kitchen drop, because Bleed got into the map so quickly last time, opened up those hatches by a minute 30, started setting up for the execute, and we don't even have the F-Knots this time. That was one of the reasons that at least the blue drop iteration of Bleed's strategy failed. So I want to see, once we get to that execute stage, what SSG start to do, because at the moment, it's still a little unclear.
Most definitely. I think what they've done here is that they've gone with the full understanding of what happened with Bleed's strategy the last time. Obviously not the clear, that's not what they were considering. What they're considering is how they got the bomb planted, and that was Mentalist with those OSA shields. So if you look at the lineup right now, what does it speak to you? There should be some volumes here. It's gonna be those 2 nitro cells and those 2 impacts. This is going to be some preventative maintenance from them. You can see Ashen's gonna play in behind AK. We probably have some nitro cells that are over towards Church, over towards that double door to make their life a little bit easier to try and slow this down. J9O also, I absolutely love this. They're gonna have him playing dummies box over here for blue, because that's where Bleed poured in a lot of their utility previously. They really like to throw smokes, flashes, anything in between except the kitchen sink at that position. Perfect spot for Warden to be playing.
The soft destruction again from Reaps, the C4s, the impact grenades, they're there for SSG, but will they land? Some of those utility, they've been in smaller quantities previously, but it hasn't worked out very well. But now, just by increasing the numbers, do they feel it is enough? Mentalist is going for that kitchen drop again. It's the one that works, so they will attempt it for a second time. Candela's being thrown inside of blue. You can see Mentalist preparing. Still intel being found. Turd going with the lurk up main hall. Hasn't found anybody yet, but this might completely stop SSG. But he's spotted by Ashen playing that AK position. So the game isn't completely up for Bleed, but now in the man disadvantage, they can start brute forcing this post plant, brute forcing Mentalist position alongside those C4s and those impacts. But we need to see them land. Bleed's coverage is still good. They're watching from the kitchen hatch, but down goes Mentalist. No impact needed. A 3K from AK. None of that secondary utility is necessary when the young gunner, primary and secondary 4K, to take Bleed's map pick in maxed regulation.
Amazing adaptation there from Space Station. As you can see, they knew exactly what strategy Bleed were going to be going for. So very well done from them. Space Station will be able to take them out.
Just a small position, small adjustment, Sam. I'm in Church. I'll go to AK instead. And what do you know? We end up having the round end because of it. So that is Bleed's pick now going the way of SSG. We'll have a break and then the desk right after this.
SSG's pick, Clubhouse, is theirs. They take a huge step forwards against Bleed in this best of 3 here in playoffs in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It is the Rainbow Six Invitational with me, Ian Chambers, Fastan and Alfama joining us on the analyst desk. It's we was expecting it to be super loud in here, but the volume's not too high at the moment, Leo. Is it high pressure? Is that what we're feeling?
This is really how it feels. I think, you know, it's an elimination game, so I think the air is a little bit heavier. But like, you're used to seeing Blitz smile and having fun and joking around, and it's not at all the same atmosphere as we had this morning versus Lost, right? It's much more serious, I think.
Yeah, especially when we were just walking past them. We were walking past them when we got back to the desk here, and they were having this little hurdle. They looked a lot more serious than what we've seen from them earlier today.
Well, nobody wants to go out, that's for sure. Let's talk about Bleed on the defense. Did you think they had maybe an obvious game plan here, Alfama?
Yeah, that's one thing I tried to point out during my jump in here, you know, during the first map, is it was clear that they wanted to bring utility to force the passive SSG to waste time and in the end deny the execute. They played Azami 5 out of 6 defense rounds, brought Solis, brought Goyo, brought Castle for a long amount of time because SSG wasn't bringing soft bridge. So they tried to abuse utility. The thing is, you're playing against one of the best team in terms of chemistry. So clearing utility isn't a problem. That's the best way to fix it. And the thing is, utility is just gonna buy you time, but not the round.
I feel like that was a big difference in comparison to the game that Bleed played earlier today, where they could capitalize off the little mistakes that Los are making. They could find these gaps and play off of them well. But SSG weren't really allowing Bleed to play off of the gaps. SSG weren't really leaving them gaps. They're playing very disciplined together, making sure that they have all these angles covered, whereas Bleed were sometimes pushing, even though they didn't keep control of an angle that was behind them, for example.
Yeah, and Alfama, in regards to SSG in defense, they play so differently to Bleed, right?
I think they had a clear game plan again. Like, they wanted completely different to Bleed. They wanted to spread out completely. They wanted to contest entry. They wanted to be in their face, gain the upper end, gain the man advantage, and then fall back to side. Problem is, when they started doing this gave, because they were spread out, more opportunities to Bleed to actually punish them. And if you see how they handled the last defense to close out the map, they turtled back on side with Azami to make sure they would win this.
Bleed an attack full of opportunity seeking, and a lot of the time, man, it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we've seen it before in similar playstyles when they did this against Virtus Pro. You know, sometimes they were just on the side in a 5v4 trying to get the plant down. I feel like we saw similar things here, right? They have these explosive takes, but the big issue sometimes was that they didn't have all these angles covered when they would go for hedge drops or pushes through a single doorway, like for example at bodies in Armory. They would push through, they'd kill the person behind the mirror, but then there would be another player from SSG right thereafter to refrag, and they didn't have all these angles covered.
You got a clip, haven't you, Leo, that describes this well?
Yeah, it's one thing, you know, I praised Mentalist earlier today on how he can find adaptation, find great ways to come up with a great execute. So look at this round, he's trying to attack on Armory and finding out the best way to execute on this. It's 5v4, they have the upper hand. Instead of planning default spot, he goes back all the way and look, he uses the reinforcement that was a clear anti-spread from SSG on the usual rush wall that they used to buck, and now he's safer to plant. And he will actually use that plant spot to then get a triple kill from the shield. 1 kill, second kill there behind the bomb chassis, and then a third one in the hallway. Overall, like, great opportunity seeking. He sees that the reinforcement is there, it will give him a safer plant spot, and he goes for it without hesitation. That's Pat right there. That's Mentalist finding the right opportunity and the right way to execute the plan.
When it comes to big performances, we're seeing them, and this is what you want in a lower bracket situation. In regards to SSG, I mean, J90, sorry, popping off as always. We keep hyping him up and he's delivering.
Yeah, but I feel like he's had a really consistent tournament so far. He's been sneaking himself into the top 5 of the leaderboards of like the kills, of the entry as well, of clutches. He's been a really, really consistent player for this team. Full to the great start of the game too, slowed down a little bit, and I feel like another very consistent factor has to be Ashton, despite being such a young player at this SI.
And I just feel like Spacestation have grown so many talented players, young prospects, into top-tier professional players. Look at Fultz when he came in this team. He developed then in SSG and is now one of the most achieved player in the game. I think that's what they're doing right now with Ashen. And I think J90 is in between both, right? He's perfectly at his peak form after being trained by this team. So overall, like, such a great formation team, such a good chemistry together. I think that's why they're performing so high, and that's why they have more expectation coming to this SI than Bleed.
For sure. I mean, Chalet is next in this best of 3, which is an interesting pick for Bleed because, Leo, you think this might have been a little bit of a trap?
Yeah, I feel like it's a trap indeed. So you look at Bleed. Bleed is really strong on Chalet, and they displayed that on the last game already, right? The thing is, Spacestation haven't showed Chalet in months, right? Nobody knows if they actually played. Well, the thing is, they left it open against D+. That's what you mentioned. So the thing is, they were ready to play Chalet. They were just waiting for someone to pick it against them. So they might be really good on that map, nobody knows.
It's a really low preference map for them ever since September. They've been banning it out quite a lot. It's the second most banned map. But yeah, as you mentioned, it was supposed to be the decider against D+. It didn't actually go that way. It's just, I feel like for Bleed, this probably is a comfort pick. Like you mentioned, they beat Losenet, they beat M80 on it. Hey, look, another NA team. They are very comfortable on this map. They've won it 7 out of 8 times, I think, the last times they played it. And yeah, it's just curious what SSG are cooking up on it though, because you know, they haven't played it since September, but they were willing to let it come out against D+, so maybe they have something cooking on it.
Well, Bleed have been defying expectation all tournament long so far. Can they do it again and push this to a 3-map series, or are SSG about to soar forwards in this lower bracket? We'll find out soon with Links and Stugs.
I can tell you this, Bleed have certainly surprised in Atlanta, and less so, I would say, here, only because our expectations grew as a result of what they could accomplish here. And while they've still certainly impressed on a map SSG clearly have been prepping and hiding and have no footage on in the past months, Mentalist will need to have his work cut out for him here, because if you're reacting on the fly to stuff you might not have ever seen, that leading, that coordination needs to be perfect more than it ever has been.
Most definitely. Gonna be walking into this one a little blind, trying to figure things out in the moment. But then also begs the question, can you just play your game? Can you just go about this map like it's another day in the office? Don't overthink things. And I actually think, folks, we are gonna just a little extra second here. I know we're on the map fly through, but I just saw SSG leave the lobby, so probably more than likely just going to be a split second here before we get them back in. But I mean, after Clubhouse and what they were able to produce on that, which was max regulation in between these two squads, Chalet for SSG, I mean, especially given the circumstances of them being able to practically hide this for some time now, it once again does beg the question, what is Bleed capable of in a moment like this?
And as the desk said, this is a very good map for them, a map they are very comfortable on. And on a map where it's a little bit smaller, you can play positions a lot easier. Prod 4 or 5 different points, and if you are able to take down one, then find a gap that you can flood in, take control of, and push forward through the round. It makes complete sense why Bleed love this map and why Bleed want to still leave it open against a team like SSG. But if they've left it open against D+, if they've left it open another series, banned it for months before this tournament, and just coincidentally decided to bring it out here, you have to imagine it's not a coincidence. It's not an accident that SSG have decided to pick this map, despite it being strong for Bleed. It is something that they are more than prepped and more than ready to face this team on.
Lots of conversation in between these two. Always very tentative to the chat whenever SSG is in the lobby. You know, it's all fun and games, but also the other thing on top of this, folks, is there is such a thing as mental warfare when it comes to these kind of things, especially in certain moments, getting under people's skin and some of those things. Even something as simple as shooting a body. If it's the right person, oh, dude, they're tilted off the face of the planet. So, that being said, let's see what we're not going to have to deal with here on Chalet. It's going to be Capital and Dokkaebi for the offense. Really, really like both of those, especially with the Capital. You and I have touched on that on him quite a few times at this event so far, just due to the fact that the nades have been changed. So Capital's play has been going through the roof a little bit. Dokkaebi, obviously the most banned operator currently at the event. She's just so darn good across the board. The logic bombs, her secondary utility access, and that EBR, as well as the SMG-12 on top of that. A lot of people finding some pretty solid success with that gun in recent months. So definitely have to be happy about that. But Fender are going to be the last thing banned out here for SSGs. They will be affecting their defense just a tad bit, but obviously not needing it for what they are going to be going for. And overall, a pretty big nuisance op for the offense. So Bleed more than likely happy that that's gone.
And they're not going to complain whatsoever starting out on the attack, that they don't have to walk into those F-knots. Also like the Capital ban by SSG. I think as this tournament has shown so far, in the absence of the powerful frag grenades, some operators have really risen in importance. Ying was already really, really strong. One of the most banned attackers throughout the entire year, but alongside her, Grim and Capital as alternative options to clear out power positions have become so important now that you can't just bring a sledge with nades to do that same job. Also seen Brava and Twitch, not necessarily increase in pick rate for Twitch, but definitely gain renewed importance for a similar reason. You try to hunt down those gadgets that before you could maybe blow up if they were in an off spot, but now, not necessarily the case. Start out, do have the, I suppose, final of the selection, Flores. Very common pick on Chalet to deal with the library shield or the Kiba barricades that I imagine we'll see SSG bring pretty consistently throughout this defense, but Turd, looking for an opening, will give away his position, but just firing a couple shots. He'll back off instead. We'll see where Bleed decide to stake their claim in the early round. There you go.
Drone works as well as Aspie, and over here on Master. It's a drone working its way across office as well as piano, just trying to clear out this longer extension. But oh, Ashen, there's absolutely no way, right? I mean, yeah, we're talking about professional grade teams here. There's no way nobody droned bathroom. I'm firmly convinced. Ashen's worked his way out of Solarium. Mentalist is holding the bottom of the stairwell. Another drone out here, and now we found him. Aspie working his way up. Ashen, what is your response here? That's the real question. He's still just standing right there. Oh my God. Aspie gets absolutely body bagged. That was disgusting. What more do you want, Aspie? He's not even looking at you. Holy crap.
And look at this, Ashen with the shotgun. Is he looking for more? The bullet's going through the wall. Bravo on the opposite side.
So
Ashen doesn't care, he plays patient, but Oven's able to react. A risky gambit, but 1 minute and 50 seconds wasted. 1 minute 50 since the round has started, and Ashen was good to take down the Grim, one of the more important operators we've talked about recently. Able to gain some renewed importance since his introduction onto certain bomb sites, and now it seems almost every map at times. It's the Ying who's got to do a lot of the heavy lifting onto these positions that haven't been cleared. J9O still in mezzanine. Fultz is still in library with a Capital. This spot is normally cleared in 40 seconds. Now we've only got 40 of them left. Hoven just sends it into the bomb site. Mentalist finds an opening on a J9O, but the trades are solid for SSG. Hoven's still good for another. Inside of the site, he's facing two different players. Fultz dropping down for his third.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
Reaps recovers that diffuser, but Forrest and Fultz can play the crossfire now. One inside of stock and one on the opposite, the bottom of library stairs. Might be a bit difficult. Reaps could have a 1v1 onto Fultz or Forrest, depending on the angles or what angles SSG are not holding. But he'll move in, and it doesn't matter because never mind, he domes Fultz through the smoke. But surely Forrest is good on time, right? He's got to push forward. Reaps might be able to hop up before he gets there. Forrest printing up, he doesn't know! The 1v2! They don't build him like Reaps, the 3600 DPI demon. One through the smoke and the other on time. Round one goes to Bleed.
Unlucky there from Spacestation. A round that was completely teed up by Ashen and almost completely solved by Fultz on the top floor as Bleed tries to address library. Is quickly swept under the rug by Reaps 96 and will go down as a successful round for the Apex squad. Extremely well done from him. We got to see this again. This shot here had to be disgusting. Yep, indeed. Ashen, what an adjustment there. And Fultz able to lay down quite a few bodies of his own with that MPX. But Reaps, man, in that moment, the info game from Spacestation just not available. And this shot here, obviously mattering the most, is just a single shot in through that space. Fultz was doing his best to try and find him through the smoke, but they knew that he was the Warden, so he just keeps popping shots over there. He knows more than likely eventually that player will step up. He finds that kill. So very well done from him, and a very deserved round for Reaps.
Incredibly well deserved. Insane mechanical skill on display. But a good setup for SSG. We can see part of the reason why they banned that Capitao. If Volts or somebody on SSG is going to be playing that far position in Library, tucked into that corner right in front of the hatch, Capitao's the main counter that. Put the Firebolts on there, and unless you're Doc, you literally cannot survive there with 2 Firebolts placed at the proper intervals. So now SG can abuse that position a little more. They may basically make Library a bunker for them to hold with the absence of nades and the Firebolts. And SSG also want to get aggressive. We saw Ashen on that roam before, now hot and cold on the office balcony doorway. One player outside on the rappel. He'll back up for the moment, but another opening pick for SSG. Forest this time, a second run out. Hot and cold not committing, Forest committing, but again traded. Just like round 1, 4v4 now. But before it was the Grim, now it's Reefs 96 punished for his good deeds.
Man, the Ying gone. A huge moment there for Forest. His castle barricades are already up. Might as well take a risk and see if you can get something. And once again, he goes fishing. Finds quite the catch. Hot and cold, gonna try and maintain things on the office position. Hoven will fall off of Ego Bauk. Looking to see what the next step forward will be. Does have some clearance over here inside of Fire. More than likely going to ask Aspie for this rotation so they can start working on this main wall. Hoven gonna try and fire upstairs. Hot and cold. Seemingly trying to work his way in over for the balcony, but there's nobody home up top as of right now for the entirety of Bleed. Aspie's over outside of West Main. Hoven's working his way in through the kitchen hall. Turret in tow for him, and a nice little hop in there will actually feed SSG 2 big kills. Not able to secure the one lasting inside of West Main, but now it's just down to Mentalist after Ashen gets that big kill and make it 2 for him. SSG with their very first round. I can't repeat that.
I wanted to let them speak their piece. This is one of those games where I definitely want to let these teams have a little bit of a moment after every round. We can hear them. I want to hear what they have to say. Also, shout out to Mango. It's the analyst of SSG sitting on the front of Liam's camera right there. Nice little run up from Forest, hearing the sound cue. But as Bleed think they see openings and try to run in, they're really not well informed. 2 different players trying to walk up through the short hallway right there, through that rotate, completely caught out, and give Ashen 1v1s that he's prepped for. Just 2 to 3 shots, and Ashen's got their number. And finally, the 3rd kill, just trying to sprint up West Main. It was really around that SSG did not have to break a sweat. The overall structure and setup, Bleed didn't really pay that much attention to.
Man, the dichotomy of Space Station is just killing me right now. You just have Ashen popping off after every round, and then the rest of them just giggling. Just like, ah, ha, ha, ha. Like, oh, Ashen, you're so funny. Like, it's great vibes, man. Really, really good vibes. So, Bleed.
5 seconds left.
Talking about here very, very soon. And the hard bridge as well, saturated. Oh, I figured out what this is, by the way. Rainbow Six Small. We have released a iOS game. It's pretty sick, actually, as well. I was looking at it during the break. I'm excited to play it after I get off camera here again. So probably have some tweets about that later on just to see what the heck's going on. But guess what, dude? It's a roguelike. I love those things.
Never been a big roguelike guy.
Really? Oh, come on, man.
Actually, quick aside, I told a college professor I tried to play a roguelike, and they were like, oh, how did you change your build to meet different situations? And I was like, I didn't. I just brute forced the same one. And I've never seen someone more horrified. Speaking of, SSG might be feeling a little scared. Bleed just decided to rush on into the snowmobile wall, but Aspie putting the bomb down is completely shut down by Forest. Believe that is maybe on the top floor, not entirely sure, but frankly, it doesn't matter. Hoven has cut down 2 different players, maybe traded out, and SSG suddenly finding their way back in on a lengthy pre-fire. Reeps 96 makes this a 1v2. We've seen Janano clutch these before, spots the head of Reeps, but on 1 HP.
No plant.
No plan indeed. He spots Turd for just a second, but does he realize? 2 minutes for both of these duelists to play this out. And Reeps makes a smart decision, rotates out a snowmobile. It's J90 lacking on the intel at the moment, whereas Turd knows he's in Blue Hall. He might give it away, shooting that mute jammer. Another flashbang goes out. It'll force J90 back and potentially give Turd the time to put this diffuser down. Air jab will put J90 on his back. Now Turd's in the post plant. It can cut him off effectively. Great call by Bleed. Struggling on the clear. The trade game too good. Well, just sprinting through the wall and catch SSG before they're set up.
Hey, you're allowed to do whatever you want strategy-wise as long as you do it together. And that was the mentality that Bleed carried through that round as they bodied the site set up a Space Station. Space Station not really able to get anyone I mean, under their banner until very late into that round, where we already saw 2-3 kills pouring over for Bleed. We'll get confirmation right here, but either way, the story's the same. Asty with a beautiful shot right there. Hoven with a nice 2K here on main stairs as well. And yes, indeed, 3 kills going their way. Then Turd obviously able to shut it down in the 1 versus 1. A great round there from Bleed. Didn't need a single ounce of map control.
And Hoven there is definitely the MVP of that round, because with the 2 players upstairs, SSG had contingencies if somebody sprinted. What did he say? I said I was going to give him space.
I can't repeat what he said, but the reason I was laughing is because it was like the bare minimum energy to get it across the room. He's like, you guys are trash.
That's how Aspie is. I remember like at going against SQ, he was just like, get a kill. It was like these very like, because Ashen is like he's losing his mind, right? And Aspie's just like, you suck. It's like he yells like he's walking away.
It's so funny, man. Aspie, oh man,
GN.
That's resident sleeper there. As Foles is going to be taking a dirt nap there for a little while. Aspie with a lot of damage dealt to him. Reaps a little consideration as well. Let's see this again here from Reaps. What a shot. Literally the first bullet out of the T95 lops his head off. So.
T95 merchant this game, I must say.
We got a couple of them here at this event. Most definitely Reaps being one of them.
Well, at least here, Aspie being on low HP, he is still alive. So that means the Grim and the Ying that Bleed have should persist into the mid-round, both on the field, whereas rounds 1 and 2, that was very much a struggle. For spots the Maverick opening things up hot and cold. Look at this aggression on Turd outside of the game's window. Ooh. The ability for SSG to ratchet up the pace in this match is ridiculous. They're fighting for everything. Full library control on their bar game's defense. And here again, Force taking gunfights with the garage window player. Hot and cold, not letting anybody get comfortable outside of the game's window. He might be droned, but SSG want to make sure that Bleed are constantly fighting for the smallest bit of territory.
NA was based inside of Las Vegas for a long time, Carter. But it seems like we've opened the casino again. SSG constantly asking Bleed, what do you want to bet on this? What are you willing to try and risk in order to get this portion of the map, access to the site, or what have you? It's working out for them very well. Hot and cold with a double. Hoven's going to try and work his way in, but that stun completely blinds him. Reaps now working his way in through mud. Hoven's still in the main hall, but no, actually Scratchhead still inside of the site behind this bar. A nice shot from him. Not able to turn immediately. Pistol in hand as he works his way into bar stock, but he is constantly getting battered and bruised by these rounds that are getting sent down range. 2 versus 2 now, but now they know exactly where both of these remaining players are. It's an even duel as Reaps will go down. It's up to Hoven now, who, yes, was able to work his way into sight, but he's going to have to try and defend it now with SSG chomping at this moment, trying to see if they can potentially find that nice little angle. Hoven, no real assistance, no drone in his pocket. Just going to have to try and hope and pray that he can find this moment to get the big kill.
Well, J9O is looking the other way, as we know, but with Ashen up above, he can easily cover or get J9O's trade. SSG have this setup at the moment to cover this, and Hoven does not have the diffuser. He'll go pick it back up. SSG don't really need to make an adjustment because of that fact, because Hoven's going to have to go back to the bomb site anyway. Nobody on that library stairs cam, though, so Hoven will slip by relatively unnoticed. But now there's the sound cue. Ashen has this hatch open. He can drop down if he wants. They're wasting such good time. Ashen only drops now, and he finishes off Hoven. Great second round for SSG. And I think there a little separation, a little disconnect from Bleed. Hoven walking into the bomb site a little behind Aspie, his teammate, and just the setup from SSG is able to repel most of what Bleed have to offer.
Yeah, that's the thing about that site. If you're able to maintain a few of the valuable positions, especially on that top floor, or even a few of those angles working their way in like main stairs, you can try and battle back things like Fireplace Hall. It gets really, really complicated. Hot and cold with some nice angle work here as well inside of games, but the moral of the story is this: SSG able to keep this strategy active throughout the round and not over-adapting into what Bleed was doing, able to punish them every single step of the way, maintaining that man advantage, especially and going down to those dying moments.
SSG definitely catching Bleed off guard, not only with how far forward they're pushed and postured, but also just how well the trade game is on the site. Hot and Cold, not even necessarily the trade game, but the awareness of these site players. Hot and Cold is doing double duty, peeking anybody who goes up to the games window, and then also, when he doesn't feel he needs to do that, watching Bar alongside Ashen upstairs to make sure nobody can push in. They're accomplishing so much with only 1 or 2 pieces, and yet somehow fighting for so much control in the aggregate. Move upstairs now, kitchen dining defense, so of course SSG will hold the top floor. And I have a feeling we'll see a similar thing here. This is a great drone for Mentalist inside of Office. The longer that survives, the better it'll be for Mentalist to counter these aggressive players. But Ashen heard someone walk in. Can he shoot these Selmas? There was somebody by the garage window earlier. But I think that player's gone, and Ashen instead will stay inside a bar.
Be able to get that drone too. Literal milliseconds away was one of the players out here, and the fire double dying to the hands of Ashen yet again. No nitro cell implemented here for Reaps, so won't have to worry about potentially getting blown off of that proximity, but they'll most definitely know that somebody is inside of library now, especially as Hot and Cold is right around the bend. Reaps, as well as the rest of the squad, trying to work their way through library right now. Ashen has already been discovered. Some pre-fires coming out here from Reaps. Some other ways that they could handle this as well. Oh my God, what a read from Forrest. He hears that swing, immediately challenges the balcony, and yeah, Ashen is gonna go down, but they've already gotten rid of Turtsta. That's a huge moment here for the defense.
I gotta say, one quiet bonus of this half for both teams is, especially in that early game, SSG might get the opening pick, but it always felt it was a 4v4 very quickly into the round. Bleed have done a good job in certain instances, countering this SSG aggression. When they get these kills, they're able to fight back. That's where SSG, I was gonna say their site structure can often be the best, but Aspie just drive-bys Forrest inside of Office. That leaves only 2 players on that top floor, 3 players overall. J9O and I believe Hot and Cold upstairs. They'll start pulling back, and well, Hoven reads that, sees both defenders all the way back in master bedroom. They've got these long angles, but Bleed have accomplished so much, it can very easily hold this top floor if they want to go for a dining execute.
A minute remains. They have to make their decision, and they have to make it quick. Until it's more than likely still having a few Selmas to try and consider onto that wall as well. So this should be a fairly straightforward affair when it comes down to strategy, Carter. But probably not when it comes to gunplay, as SSG has been pretty active in that regard, especially for J9O. And we haven't seen the biggest moment from him yet on this map, which begs the question, when will it happen? Because it practically feels inevitable at this tournament that once a map, he's able to do something so grandiose that he wins SSG around.
It definitely feels that way. Such good players overall on this roster. Second to last, Candela goes out. Mentalist going for that plant. Inside of dining, moving in through the wall. Aspie's able to cut down faults in the coverage. J9O on a solo retake. Now a solo effort in the 1v4. If there's going to be a flashy play, it's gotta be here. He spots Mentalist and is able to fall off.
Oh!
But not Hoven, who holds on to master bedroom and Office. One singular player brings back the round after almost letting J9O get away with it.
Very, very close right there on the repeak as well. An opportunity presents itself to be able to handle the twitch, but Hoven too clean there on the repeak, able to find the heady. And Forrest really like this run out here, all off of that rappel audio. But Bleed able to keep things at least accessible for themselves, finding Ashen exposed over inside of Barstock, using those drones to their fullest advantage and abusing that isolated player. Bleed are playing very well in this offense right now.
This has also been a crazy game for Aspie so far. Really big performer on map 1. Map 2 there, getting a huge 3K to boost Bleed's chances. But Hoven still needed to bring that back because sure it was a 1v4, but able to find that diffuser. J9O then at a 1v1 against Hoven, and as you said, he's been so good this whole tournament, able to find these opportunities, capitalize off of enemy mistakes and unforced errors, and then end up pivoting it to a round win for SSG, but they're a little too tall of a task. Hoven a little too on point. Final bomb site SSG will defend will be the basement one. We saw that very successful rush by Bleed in through the jacuzzi wall. I have to imagine SSG will be a bit more ready for it this time. Will be trained on that garage wall, and oh, there you go, introduction of the tuber out by Hot and Cold. We've got the Zoto canisters and the Electroclaws to make hard breaching just that much more difficult for this bomb site.
Once again, Spacestation giving that aggressive look. few angles working their way outside, at least initially, but nobody going to continue to hold on to those. As usually only sit on those for about 15, 20 seconds to see if somebody wants to rotate out. Got the tuber route implemented here. In Forrest as well, so see where Forrest actually is. He should be right around the bend, and he is indeed. He's sitting right next to Hot and Cold. Doesn't have any Electro Claws on his person, but they're just going to continue to ice things up. That Electro Claw is actually on the top left of the wall, if you can see it right there. So this is going to lock this up for an extended period of time. Houghton still has a singular one of those Zoto canisters. That should be the last one going on right about. Ooh, another EMP out.
And another Zoto turn.
And frozen. This time, though, they're just going to set it on the wall and hope that things stick, but Forrest Electro Claw more than likely capable of getting this. Hot and Cold. No longer having access to those walls, and or rather those freezing canisters. And yeah, I do believe the wall is fully sealed now as that Electric Claw turns on in time to be able to get both of those pieces of utility off the wall. Mental is dedicated back to drones, and they now have to try and figure out how to do this, where they really haven't made any. Well, as they say that, they have made a couple of considerations, but haven't really tried their hand at getting this clear going on this top floor.
And now if they try to pivot, you still have Ashen, who might be unaccounted for on the roam. Such great on-site play from SSG, combining those Zoto canisters with the Electric Claw. They took down most of the Selmas, actually, all the Selmas. Asphie with those exothermics. Now J9O finds Ashen with a second on a turd. There's a refrag by Bleed, but because those two roamers doing their job so well, SSG got the advantage. And now Bleed are in the difficult spot attacking teams sometimes find themselves in. If they want to go for this clear, there's both Ashen and Fultz on the roam. There's not a lot of time. They need to get these kills without expending too much more of it. Flashbang goes out, but Fultz is still able to find Asphie before his sight is ripped away from him. Hubba now looking for the finisher, but what a rotation! He vaults out a mudroom window, vaults back into West Main, and back down to the bomb site. Move over, Alfama. We've got a new Mr. Worldwide. But Hubban might just have the idea. Z-ping on one player inside of the site. Hubban's able to find him, but Forrest cuts down Mentalist on the push down West Main. The garage kill goes Hubban's way, but the remaining three is a very tall task. Fultz might give his life away. A big round from Hubban, but one that's ultimately meaningless. SSG in the lead at the half.
What a moment there for Space Station. The utility usage downstairs, extremely well done from Hot and Cold as he puts the breach on ice. Has that entire wall locked up. Nobody capable of locking or rather opening that and having to traverse the rest of the map where they end up running immediately into that roam game.
Of course, we do have Anne, I believe, with a little bit of an update for us, or at least some of her thoughts on this current Bleed SSG game. We heard from Leo and his prediction ended up manifesting. What are your thoughts at the moment?
Well, I want to talk about the fact that we just seen the attack in half of Bleed, of course, and the reoccurring trend that we've seen from the previous map into this one are those direct takes that Bleed keep on bringing out. We saw the kitchen one, but it tried to take that control, sneak it out without having a top 4 control. Didn't really go that well. But then, of course, afterwards, we saw a similar take that we saw this morning against Los as well, with that breach pushing in deeper than they did this morning to force off that control. They're obviously learning afterwards from the kitchen take, forcing out the top 4 control. I've actually sat inside, listened to a few of the calls. You heard Mentalist calling for these direct takes, and they've been working out for them pretty well. A 3-3 split very much is still possible for Bleed to win out this map.
Well, and Leo thought that SSG would win. Do you feel similarly?
I feel like obviously now them on the attack, I kind of want to see if they have these similar explosive takes, and if Bleed are ready for them. I don't want to manifest a 2-0. I hope Bleed can come back from this one.
Well, I certainly hope so as well. Thank you, Anne, for the comments, and I'm hoping for the 2-1. Well, not the 2-1, the third map, and then, of course, a 2-1 for some team overall. But Bleed, who have captured our hearts and still also captured our minds in some ways. Looking very solid throughout this tournament and in Atlanta as well. You'd hate to see them lose in 2 important matches, being sent home by SSG in Atlanta and potentially being sent home again at SI.
40 seconds off the clock now as Space Station have a much easier time getting this breach open as Bleed have not adopted the same strategy. No tuber out for the basement. Selmas work swimmingly on this wall. Be able to open up that right-hand breach. No more impacts here for Hubban, but he does have the ability to seal the wall, at least for a little bit here with the Kiva barriers. So he's going to do exactly that.
Oh, look at this little read that they found. Forced walks immediately up to the rotate. Nobody from Bleed watching it either in Red Hall or inside the site. That was a crazy sound effect right there, and I think it's indicative of the alarm bells going off in Bleed's head. With Turd fall, and they know SSG are right up to the site, but they backed up. A very long angle. Janino is able to cut down Mentalist inside of Wine. That just leaves Hoven on the bomb site and force some rotations out from Bleed.
2 bodies down now. So have this player here inside of Kitchen. The thing I love about SSG, man, they did all that stuff. They make that breach run in through Trench. They have that player over on Big Garage, but then they immediately adjust the strategy, and they almost get another free kill because of it. Asmi thought that it would be a nice rotation to go over towards West Main and try and assist with these Trench players, but they're not there anymore, Carter. They're over inside of Big Garage with a nice cutoff instead. Constantly considering what the next level of strategy is, and only Forest, man. Only Forest would do something like this. Exothermic for verticality in West Main. Oh my God.
Listen, sometimes you got to do it. That's a good angle, too.
Whatever you need, right? Like, you need access to that. You want to be able to shut down the stair rotate. I totally understand it. It's just always so funny when you see something like that happen.
It is a funny image, but look at Reaps moving upstairs. We see the big hole that came right up, but nobody there to actually counter it. Forrest is instead rotated back down. A lot of adjustments from SSG, running back and forth. Looking like it's going to be a very ad hoc execute put together at the last minute. Will spot Reeves, who pushes forward, almost punished, but he finds himself in cover behind the library position. The wall tree is Reeps' domain. Forrest falls down, spots one. Will Reeps go for the finisher? The cut down onto Forrest to get Bleed the half. Yes, he will. 4-3 now, a 4K from Reeps. That man owns West Main, and SSG regret taking it to him.
That's an insane round there, and honestly, just all things considered, that exothermic there for West Main, if he actually plays that breach, he more than likely kills Reeps when he rotates back up the stairwell, but instead he comes back down to Big Garage to try and assist, and Reeps set up for success there, but still some really difficult fights, especially the one that we'll see here in just a moment, where he was able to just thread the needle here and find that headshot onto Ash, and what a moment there for him.
And just to finish it off with the prone super shorty peek, just for the style. Wow. The Grim Reaper arrived in round 7, and SSG, unfortunately, the wrong end of that scythe. 4-3 now for Bleed, moving on to Bar and Games. So many different players showing up this series for Bleed overall. Astri only 4-5, but he had a big round to completely keep that dining plant covered on the attack. Now Reeps and Hoven, of course, 10 kills so far. The problem with this squad, man. 4 talented players and 1 guy who, Mentalist, sure, he's got the mind, but he can still frag out when he needs to. Bleed are always going to be a threat. First attack doesn't necessarily go SSG's way. You could see some hectic comms and coordination going on at the end there. We'll see how it goes on Bar and Games. Will we see some direct takes, as Ann mentioned? We saw Bleed go routinely for. Is it going to be more complicated? I think this attack at the next one will start indicating the pattern SSG will stick to.
Well, they most definitely want to deal with this site setup and shut down a few of these rotations here. That's why you see the Nomad come in. The Flores, obviously, for sight, and IQ can assist in certain regards as well. Won't be able to assist with the Frost mats that have been implemented here from Turd, but most definitely will be able to assist in other means, like dealing with the Reaps here and these Goon Mines. It's going to be top floor defense here from Bleed, trying to extend themselves out all the way over towards Master, kind of mimicking what we saw earlier in the day, trying to make it to where if they do go for this clear, it'll take them a little bit of time.
Right as Fultz goes in for the flash, the library player drops down the hatch and leaves the rest of the setup on that top floor to be played out by Bleed. 1 player over by the stairs, another by mezzanine. You can see Fultz looking at them all through the wall. Of course, we have the advantage of that knowledge. He doesn't necessarily. But I imagine they can assume what a lot of these positions are going to be. And that's why you see Ashen just staring at that top fireplace stairs right now, seeing if anybody makes that rotation or tries to, well, deal with this very position, because he wants to open that stock wall. A powerful angle for the attack if they can get it. And, well, Ashen certainly opened it up and taken control and made that position a much greater risk for the defense.
Oh, J90 pixels away from being able to take out Reeps there, but won't come to bear. And that's 11 kills for Reeps so far in this game. Turd with a nice one as well, so he'll take down Ashen. Good little find there as he was attempting to rotate his way up main stairs.
Not again.
Oh. They actually slipped through the cracks on this. Very close gunfight there as Hot and Cold doesn't even attempt to take it. Instead, tries to work his way back over towards Blue and Bleed with a flawless round in front of him. Forest, head in hand, conversation to be had here. Yeah, need to try and figure out what the heck is happening on these offenses.
That attack, you can see the ideas that SSG are going for. That hole in the stock wall is very common. We'll see maybe a Maverick make it, an Ace make it. In this particular case, Ashen on the ladder, but aside from that, Hot and Cold down below tries to retake that position. It doesn't even seem to be aware necessarily. I'm sure he's aware of the player up above. It had to have been communicated, but still availing himself to it, and probably dies if Turd just hits a few more shots, because Turd used almost his whole magazine on that position, it felt like. Then he's caught up by the player on blue stairs. Forest does find one after the regroup. Two different players from Bleed giving some kills to Forest, looking for the third. Now Hoven with the Deagle one tap to finish things off. 5-3 half for Bleed, but I definitely think that whatever communication happened at the end of that round, Forrest talking with the rest of his team, I hope we see it manifest, because the attacks so far have been very unconvincing.
No, most definitely not. Bleed able to constantly get in the warpath of Space Station, and I mean, that round, a complete failure to launch. Some aggressive looks presented by Bleed as well, but Space Station not having the capability to try and close things up. I'm genuinely confused as to how Hot and Cold did not know that player could be occupying that angle above him when Ashen died from the exact same thing. Might be just a little bit of lack of communication there or something along those lines, but either way, across the board, Bleed able, more than capable of punishing Space Station.
Still see some semblances of that Bleed we saw at Atlanta, the one that really defines these rounds by gunfight. So many impressive shots and tight angles, let alone the one tap to end the round by Hoven, just for style points in the 1v3, or the 3v1 technically. We'll need to see something better for SSG, better intel on some of those positions, knowing that you have Turd on top holding that fireplace. The top fireplace stairs. It seemed Ashen had a general idea of it, but again, nobody actively watching it. No direct counterplay for that position. Nobody at the fireplace door, for example. Just need to see something better from SSG. This is your map pick. It's been in your back pocket. Sure, this might be your first game day play of it in a long time. But if you seem so confident that this was the time, this was the moment to bring it out, it doesn't always go your way, but we want to see a close fight, especially given their 1-0.
Ashen working his way in here with these Rotero drones, and what a brilliant shout as of right now as well. These things can be very detrimental, especially to these evil eyes, but might be a little bit dual back and forth between those things if he's on the proper one, right? Drone mechanics up against the laser, constantly getting spat at that. Almost a minute off the board though. SSG haven't gave up a body just yet. E1D out, he'll get rid of that Frost Mat, which should be a telltale sign that he's worked his way into the bathroom, but they have no idea that E1D is so loud, they're not even going to be able to make out that audio cue. Turd has to go in behind the half wall, but he's been discovered now. J90 with a nice angle here, and he'll be able to discover him too. Able to find that angle on him. Fultz with a nice kill, and SSG take the reins here in round 9.
Complete roam clear on the opposite side of the map. Aspie able to get the jump out. Maestro rotating upstairs to try and retake some of this control, but SSG are going in for the pinch. They're collapsing on the Maestro. They start retaking up top. Reaps finds one, but now downed. It's the 12-4 Wamai to try to fully bring back this round. Catches one. Ashen completely off guard. So down goes that Flores, and Reaps maintains control of the second floor for the moment. SSG going for the counterplay. There's opportunities here as SSG starts splitting. One going through bathroom, other on the opposite side. Reaps instead drops down. He's trying to force SSG's hand, say, okay, you can come for the execute, you can come for the bomb site. Then once they drop back down, Reaps will go for the rotation back up. It's a game of anticipating the other's moves, and whoever can get further ahead might very well be the victor of this late round engagement. Reaps going for the rotate, holding the angle with that pistol. He hears Forrest stomping up above. Now going for the rotate back outside. Reaps holds his ground for the moment.
Just hear the stomps of the players upstairs. Hot and Cold. Kiritos in hand. Impact out. Reaps, have you done enough? Oh my. What a moment right there. is not only does he pistol whip the first man, but the impact, the knowledge to know that that player was going to attempt to follow that up. Insane stuff out of Reaps right here. Not very many players in the world, folks, are capable of time and time again finding these clutches, but Reaps seems more than, willing to put himself in these positions and make some magic happen.
6-3 now for Bleed, a monstrous clutch from Reaps 96, 15-4 right now. Completely dominating this game against SSG. We thought they had it. You see that coordination on that clear. They're able to use the E1D. They know the roam is there. Sure, it seems the exact intel is lacking at times, but for that first pick, Ashen reacts in times. The Azami swings out. Then they find the player behind half wall, take him down through the soft wall, and then get a third, a 2v5 that was initially. And Reaps is able, in the 2v4, right as he loses his teammate, to find it. But again, it's the intel from SSG that is well and truly lacking. Nobody aware that Reaps is on that top floor. All right. Mistakes happen, now you know, but then we just have two players funneled downstairs. Reaps gone completely unnoticed, leading SSG on a wild goose chase, and they end up making the exact move Reaps accounted for and anticipated. No round gained by SSG this half so far, and Bleed just need one more to close out Chalet 7-3.
Was picked by Bleed, but SSG doing a solid job of hiding this map for a while. Thought they'd have some solid considerations here, but Bleed just better in the pocket as of right now. This map looking more than in the backpack, which would carry us on to Nighthaven, but Spacestation with that timeout. Solid considerations more than likely, as they will look to try and go on a perfect streak for the next 3 rounds to force overtime on this map. The current lineup that they have looking pretty solid for a basement offense, as they'll be looking to try and rip up the flooring here inside of Fireplace Hall. Make life a little bit more difficult for the defenders, burrowing themselves down in the site.
Use those boogies to create those openings. A little bit different usage than we've seen before. A lot of the times we'll see teams maybe open up that top floor and then, that balcony and then use those holes to kind of look down and get super long angles. So I want to see if Fultz will decide to do that as well. Use that final boogie to create a line across that heaven balcony. We'll have to see, though, he is rotating up to that second floor. Heard the buzz of a Maverick torch earlier, likely trying to open up that garage wall. Another EE1D goes out from Forest. No capitalization from SSG just yet. We need to see this entry. We need to see them start setting the pace. It's been Bleed in the early and the late game who have so successfully forced SSG to cave and meld to their game instead of SSG to set theirs. Second to last E1D now gone. Ashen has moved his way in from office balcony into office proper. Reaps needs to cross this position. He's trying to win the fight. Instead, it's Aspie who swings. Forrest caught off guard. Great team play by Bleed, who can now start rotating back to site.
It's moments like this right here. Once again, the coordination from Bleed on the angles, body Spacestation, but they're trying to add a few extra things into the fold. Hot and Cold will get traded out immediately as Fultz will pick one up from the verticality. Somebody trying to work their way up main stairs. It's gonna be Hoven to try and reclaim, but Fultz, a beautiful move, a masterclass in positioning, gifts him that kill, and now a minute remains for Bleed and for Turd to try and have a clutch moment up against Spacestation that would send us to a third map.
Hoven making a play he didn't need to make. A little bit of an overheat there. You got the 2v2 on the site. You can play time. Sure, they can find intel, but if you're going to make a play like that, give them a 1v1. Maybe you catch them off guard. Maybe SSG's intel is lacking, but if Fultz is just looking at the right position, he's in bar. He can catch you off guard. Now it's cost Turd a teammate in a very, very important 2v2. They're down 1-0. They need this round to solidify map 3. But SSG can still lose it. Flashbang goes out. Turd dodges it. He's got to know Fultz cross. No, he just walks in as Fultz watching. He's able to get the initial engagement, but there's the swing from Fultz. That could have been 7-3 right there, but instead, man advantage goes SSG's way. They're able to hang on a little longer on Chalet.
Most definitely. Fantastic prospect both of these squads right now. Bleed with the opportunity to elongate their stay here in Brazil. At least for another map if they're able to pick up one more round. Spacestation Gaming already with one successful round in this clutch opportunity to try and bring us back to overtime. That round pretty scrappy as well, going back and forth constantly as each team was trying to fight fire with fire, searching for that man advantage. But Spacestation, after the dust settles, come out on top of the heap as king, at least for that round. Now, leading into this, one of the harder sites to try and deal with on Chalet, it's going to be Bar Gaming.
Bleed can take advantage of this Capital ban, though. I really like the rotations back to the side, the coordination between Asfi and Reaps as they moved their way from the top floor down through the dining hatch. Not necessarily the case here. I mean, you can, of course, move all the way in Master Bedroom and Office, but you're just going to rotate across the top floor. Here, because of that Capital ban, and again, the nade changes we've mentioned and everyone is aware of, you can sit in that library corner just at the bottom left of your screen right there, the southeast corner on the compass right now. If you're able to sit there and hold, there's not a lot of counterplay from the attackers to actually go for. Bleed aren't doing it. So there are options they're leaving on the table for what they could do. Instead, they're going with a much more normal hold at the top floor. They have the mirror windows and the Azami, but nobody actually in that death position. So there's going to be a very familiar defense at the moment for SSG. But still, you have to actually fight the members of Bleed, who, as this game has gone on, Reaps and Hoven, sure, maybe not playing the best in that previous round, but still two players you need to worry about on this clear.
Yep. Beauty of a situation like this for Bleed is, well, Carter, there's certain things that you can't strategize about, and you must just do. That's one of them. Fight Bleed. Yeah, you have the strategy set up, you have the operators, you know where your path is supposed to be going, but what is Bleed going to do to you when you attempt this? Ashton's going to work his way in downstairs, Forrest in tow, but he's wrapping himself around over towards the gaming window, I'm going to assume here. Houghton with a beautiful find inside a fireplace. Who is this? I think it's, I want to say that it's Reaps. Standing right around this corner. No, it's going to be the Azami. Oh, what a moment. He's going to be able to take down Hoven. I don't even know if Houghton knows that he was actually more than capable of picking that up, but doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Mentalist could just hold that cross right outside of Bar. So instead, might be a pickup here from Tard, but big moment right now.
It is a very big moment. I mean, things could change. Hoven slowly crawling up. He just got that Kiba off to shelter him as he went down. As he keeps crawling back and back up. There's the find from Forrest. Just in the nick of time, right as Hoven was at his most hopeful he might find a way back into this round. SSG play the patient game, cut down two birds with one stone. 5v3 now. Ashen lurking down below earlier, now making his way to West Main instead. It's a reset from SSG.
Such an unfortunate moment there as well. The roles were reversed and it was Turd at the bottom there. Maybe, just maybe, then the opportunity to try and seal up that window or something along those lines, but nobody even considering the fact that this angle could be working into the offensive favor. Asfi still trying to hold things down here inside of Library. A nice find here through one of the glass cabinets, and he's gonna follow that up with a double kill, but still, SSG persist.
There's the intel for Reaps. No, he doesn't look! Despite the intel, he's looking the wrong way. Mentalist is cut down too. There's a winnable round there. Again, a 2v2 thrown, and Reaps not reacting to the intel. SSG on so close to losing it at times and being disrupted, but they hold on. Just one more round till OT.
I was expecting the timeout. I saw Julio's mic go down, so let's see what they have to say here.
Got into position.
Can't hear things too clearly for Julio's perspective, but let's see if we can hear anything from call out. Both of these guys pretty quiet, so I guess we'll just
I was about to say, call it a bit more of a reserved guy. Yeah. Julio also not a super bombastic personality, but still two very, very well-respected coaches in their own right.
Absolutely. I mean, Julio, a hammer lifter, call out. He's been playing and coaching this game for so long. I literally used to scrim against him, and I haven't played a competitive map in like 4 years, 3 years, something like that. I think it was 2020 the last time that I did it. So insane stuff.
You still love these reactions, though, from SSG, Sam. Of course, Forrest getting that 2K, and then the full push on the Candela is just great stuff from SSG, making those improvements since their timeout.
Absolutely. These timeouts matter quite a bit for both respective squads, because that's the one thing you always have to account for as well, folks. When you take a timeout, I mean, really in any game, both coaches get to talk. So call out also more than likely with some solid considerations as to how they're going to go about this round. And something has bubbled up to the surface, at least for me and my eyeballs, and it's got to be hot and cold on that Ashe. We haven't seen him with any majorly aggressive operator in his hand just yet on this map, so this could be a change of fate for him.
And we've seen him on the Nook, an operator that we, for a time in North America, practically just associated with him back 2 years ago, back in 2021, 2022. Felt like his bread and butter. We are seeing the tuber out as well, but not on that basement site where we saw SSG bring him. Instead, we've got the tuber out on the kitchen and dining bomb site. It's got to be that dining wall they're really worried about. They could actually do the office wall as well, of course, being basically in the same position on the, hold up, X-axis. There we go. I started mixing them up for a second.
It's always so hard when it comes to commentary, because there's just that angst moment right before you say something. You're like, am I saying this correctly?
Literally, I was like,
I'm
wait.
in front of a lot of people right now.
I was like, wait, that is the X-axis, right?
Yes, indeed. See what they can do with that in mind. That's the beauty of Rainbow Six. You're not just playing the map horizontally, you're also playing it vertically, and sometimes you're playing it even more so vertically. I mean, we've seen kills through a multitude of levels on maps. Absolutely insane stuff, and honestly, one of my favorite aspects of this video game in general. Your ability to deconstruct the map, worry about those separate angles, spray through walls, spray through floors. It's just so damn cool, honestly, guys. J9O gonna be rocking the 417 here, as he'll be occupying the space outside of West Main, more than likely just trying to make sure a few of these rotations aren't as easily accessible to Bleed as they were previously. A Twitch drone in, be able to identify at least one player in the space, trying to assist hot and cold with this, as he is currently sitting at the bottom of the stairwell. Forest. Some exothermics as well, or rather some Candelas he's willing to pitch in, but he's immediately going to get gunned down by the MP. Very nice find there as Hotton will run into sight. He finds the Tubby. Mentalist with a nice kill though onto Fultz. J9O has case, and he's going to start it in behind the half wall.
He somehow made his way in. J9O with the coverage of Hot and Cold, reclaiming that Ashe has found the opening necessary. Now we're in the post plane despite all those vertical angles. Bleed have somehow let this gap open up. SSG exploited so perfectly, and now on the retake, they've got to make their way down. Ashen cuts him off. No kills found for Bleed at this point as SSG now take their lead. Both in the execute, the control they had, and now in the man advantage. Overtime, a very real possibility. 3 rounds in a row for SSG to match Bleed's 3 of their own. Chalet might just still be SSG's map yet.
Oh, Bleed. All of the sirens going off right now, Carter. As Spacestation have done it 3 rounds in a row. On to overtime now, and all the pressure on to Bleed. Beauty of this situation, SSG's already won the first map. Things can still go awry on Chalet, and things will be okay for them. They can look towards the Nighthaven Labs. But for Bleed, they must try and get things done inside of OT here. These next 3 rounds of the utmost importance. See what they're going to be capable of, but what a moment here from Spacestation. A beautiful strategy there as they simply walk things through West Main and are able to find that big kill, that big entry onto the kitchen player.
As rounds get close like this, it's unclear who a victor or loser might be. If you think you've got an idea, remember you can make predictions on the official Ubisoft website. In-house, see if you really know your stuff on Rainbow Six. If you know which teams might be able to win, just go to the website, be able to make those predictions. Sam, I can tell you this event so far, I had a couple of hot takes that didn't end up panning out. I don't know how you felt. I know you did literally the hottest take of all time on the B stream earlier.
I did. You want to tell them about it?
So if you were watching the B stream, Sam said that W7M will be making the grand... Well, did you say main stage of the grand finals?
I said grand finals.
Okay, I was about to say.
Yeah, I said W7M will not be in grand finals.
Which still considering they're 2-time major champs, very hot take.
Yeah, very hot take, but you know, you got to be spicy about things. When you're feeling it, you're feeling it. I bet a few parlays are not exactly looking the greatest, so don't cast stones at me, okay? All right. And I mean, speaking of predictions, by the way, Fox has been kicking butt this entire event. Honestly, next event we do, I feel like Ubisoft just needs to make him like the king on the website and be like, who can beat Fox Ace predictions?
The bracketologist in the Rainbow Six staff.
Bracketologist.
That much is we can be sure of. We'll see if he's got this game, though. We predicted it'd be close. We'd hope it'd be a solid affair, but I think a lot of us were really praying this would be a two-mapper, just to give us a little more bleed in this tournament, a little more chaos, a little more excitement in our lives, but SSG have really fought back. 3 attacking rounds in a row. A great call last round to rush into that dining bomb site, covering JNNO on the plant. This time it's a much slower full clear. Taking control of master bedroom and office, now likely going to apply pressure onto the library stairs positions. A bit of a switch up from what we've seen before. It's been a bit more loose for SSG, but right now it is all on the opposite side of the map from this setup.
It's moments like this that separate the strong from the weak, the good from the bad. Space Station, so far, so good for them. We're facing such a hill to climb. And yet, so far, they've done such a solid job of being able to traverse this rough terrain. Now, things are tied up, looking to bully their way into this top floor. They have to worry about the blue stairs player, but they might also just go direct here as Ashen. A big moment here, folks. What happens with this player inside of Bar's stock? My God, what a shot out of Mentalist.
Insane moment from Mentalist. Now all of Bleed tries to rotate back, but Jane, I know, cuts him off with the secondary. This man can't be stopped. The American cyborg programmed to kill. A few shots from the pistol. 3 indeed. Match point, series point for SSG.
And even Hoven blown away by what he's just witnessed. A 3K out of the RG-15. I mean, don't get me wrong, this pistol's great, but wow, J90, a quad kill for him inside of overtime. A moment that will be ingrained in a lot of our brains for quite some time.
Well, you said earlier that we have to have this map, some big performance from J90, some moment we can point to that shows everyone what he can do. We didn't get one on the defense. We didn't really get one in regulation, but first round of overtime. Pulls out the pistol, and at high noon, domes 3 inside of Bar and Games. Now Bleed need 2 in a row, 1 on attack, 1 on defense, just to get us to Nighthaven, just to prolong their Six Invitational 2024.
5 seconds left before.
And just to get revenge on SSG, the very team that knocked them out of Atlanta, robbed us of an underdog storyline that seemed like it was destined to occur on the main stage. Just 1 more round for SSG and it'll happen again.
Ashen with the lineup there, just spraying in through the trees, and you can see the pressure. Space Station, a full understanding of what the headspace is more than likely like for Bleed, and they are doing absolutely everything to be detrimental to their success inside of this round. Ashen throwing himself over towards the kitchen window, not seeing too much right now, but Hodden still with a fantastic default cam. Who is on the roof? I think it's Aspie. This is egregious right now. Somebody has to get this camera. They know exactly where he is. Ashen most definitely not going to get overly aggressive. I mean, does have this drone that he's going to be able to get rid of, but insane stuff.
He's got 2 of them.
It will still continue to persist here.
Not like this, not on match point. Reaps at least escapes it, but as Aspie still on the roof, SSG might not care. No Jane, no Ashen getting into position. There we go. The most rookie of mistakes in this game. And Bleed lose their hard breach because of it. 1 simple run out, 1 simple ping. The moment he peeks on the basement site, default cam, Fultz rubbing salt in the wound.
That mental warfare, folks. Space Station Gaming may have done it. Oh man, where's the rocket ship, Bleed? It's time to go home, Space Station. They're gonna lose Ashen, but I think they've already done it. This is so very close right now, Carter. We still have some considerations here for Bleed. We have the big garage player rotating Roteros in, but Space Station have such strong capabilities, such solid positioning across this map to thwart Bleed's further game plans. And do Bleed only exist in this tournament for 1 more minute?
That's 10 seconds gone. 60 down to 50 seconds left for Bleed to make the quickest of arguments. They can still face not only SSG, but go to map 3, maybe W7M later, to keep one of the strongest teams from Southeast Asia we've ever seen, echoing old Elevate. Some players like Onigiri, who have made names for themselves on the international scene, Bleed, have taken that mantle back. But 20 seconds left, 2/3 of that minute gone.
Man.
J9O going for this flank. Bleed have left default cams up. Have they caught their drones? Have they caught these flanks? Nobody pushing in. J9O going for it. There's Hubin now gone. Turd and Mentalist, the only two standing between defeat. And their chances are frozen. The hearts of SSG cold as they send the underdogs home. 2 tournaments in a row. NA may survive, but another fan favorite falls in Sao Paulo.
Spacestation Gaming. 5 rounds in a row with their backs against the wall, 6-3. They will win this series, 8-6. What a game from them. J9O 14-7, Forest 13-11, and just an absolute treasure trove of frags coming out from every single one of these Space Station members. And they never doubted, Carter, even when it was down to the wire. They said, well, I don't feel like playing Night Haven Labs, do you? We're gonna solve things here on Chalet, and that's exactly what they did. Amazing stuff out of Space Station Gaming, an amazing series overall. And we're gonna send it down to the desk now to break this one down.
Bleed fall to SSG again. They missed the main stage in Atlanta, and now again here at SI. Heartbreaking for them, but SSG roll forwards. We are now joined on the desk. I say we, myself, Ian, and Fastan are here with Ashen. Ashen, right? From the moment this all started, I've been wanting to talk to you on this desk. I've heard you from anywhere I am in this entire vicinity, and I love that about you. How much are you just loving this experience, SI?
Yeah, it's just great, you know. Another event, I missed school for Brazil, so, you know, shout out to my parents and stuff like that, letting me go, you know, all the support back at home. But, you know, we had a boot camp before this. This is just, you know, the culture and all that. It's great to be here, you know, just still battling in here, lower bracket run, you know, we're running the gauntlet, our backs are against the wall. But, you know, the atmosphere and stuff like that is still great. I'm still screaming, you know, I love screaming at the enemy team because, you know, it showed yesterday, you know, we can get in some people's heads, you know, just by screaming. So, you know, it just, even if it's like 5 more seconds that it lets me get in their head, you know, that's 5 seconds off the round. So, you know, it's great for the team. You know, we have a great atmosphere around us, you know, team, just like, you know, just a team environment. You know, it's obviously, you know, no one can count us out there. Showed it again in Atlanta, showed it again here. So, you know, we're still a constant threat.
For sure.
Yeah, sounds great. I'm super happy to hear that. My main question is probably about Chalet, because you haven't played this since September. Were you kind of hoping they would pick it? Was it like a card up your sleeve that you still had?
Yeah, it was a card. We started a bit rocky on it. You know, we had the game plan. We had a really good game plan going into it. We executed it great towards the end when we were, you know, down match point. Yeah, it's definitely a trick card though. You know, I think we played really well in the game plan after the timeout. We had that 5v2 that we unfortunately trolled, and you know, their gaps were gaping. You know, they just weren't watching the graphs or anything. So, you know, we abused it, and then, you know, we just had the game plan for it. It was a really good map for us. So, regardless of overtime.
You touched on it yourself there about like the unity. There's it's like a real cohesive unit, this team, because it's not just in the server that you all, you know, together and you've got each other's backs. It's outside of it as well. You know, you're always in the gym together. There's a reason you've got a chest like that.
Just flying.
Yeah, but you're all good friends as well, right?
Oh yeah, you know, outside of the game, you know, we play other games like PUBG, stuff like that, and you know, whenever we're here, we have something called MOG protocol where, you know, we no matter what, all like, you know, 8 of us or 7 of us, we all walk around together. So no matter where we are, we're always together. We have a great bond with each other, and you know, that gym, you know, you can look at Forrest's chest right here. Look at that thing flying right there.
Look at it.
Yeah,
Forrest, bring that chest over here.
Bring that chest. Bring that chest.
Let's just have a look at that chest.
Let me touch that chest.
My word. There's a lot of talk about chest here. I apologize for that. Ashen, what I love about you, obviously, you are making a name for yourself. Every event that goes by, and you're doing it again here at SI, you talk a lot. And you said why. It does get in their heads. It is a strategic move sometimes. But there's a camera right there. Any doubters? Do you want to shut them up?
We just snouched Bleed Snatch. We just snatch bleed snouts. So you know we're keep rolling. We're just gonna keep rolling, keep snout snatching, gonna keep taking souls. So never count us out.
Talking about keep taking souls, your next opponent is playing right now on the B stream. Is either NIP or W7M. Do you have a preference, or are you happy with either way?
No, regardless, souls are being taken.
Final thing, there is a chance if the chips fall in the right way for you that you could face up against Dark Zero again. You said to Canadian very loud and passionately that you will see him again. Is that a matchup you'd like?
He knows he'll see me again. He shouldn't doubt it. He's probably up at night thinking about how he's going to see me again. So he's always thinking about my voice in the back of his head. Clearly it showed the game we played yesterday. So we'll see him again, and he knows it.
All right, Ashton, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations and best of luck in the rest of this tournament. All right.
Thank you.
Good stuff. And it was a phenomenal series to watch, and it's been a phenomenal journey for Bleed. You know, they've blown a lot of people away, expectations-wise. And we'll get to them. And I want to celebrate some of their key moments there. But Leo, you now rejoin us. Aggression was the word on that map, wasn't it?
Yeah, a complete shift on playstyle compared to Clubhouse right now. They were really passive on Clubhouse first, right? They were controlling the pace, contesting entries, and then falling back and playing time wasting. Now you look at Chalet and the way they were playing, constant aggression from both teams, super proactive, and actually just had a word with call-out SSG's coach, and it was all part of the plan. They knew coming to this map pick from lead, they wanted to be highly disruptive and be highly contestive of all entries.
Yeah, that's a few of the things they did on their defensive half. If Bleed didn't go for a direct take, it was more so SSG trying to contest that map control, getting that early entry. So from the very first round, where Ashton went back up to Solar, got the kill. From there on, they create this kind of chaos on the side of Bleed, then pull back, wait, let the time go by, and eventually win out those rounds. There are 3-3 splits, seems salvageable from either side, really. And then, of course, you know, Bleed managed to make it to a 6-3, and then, of course, they weren't able to close it out. Maybe it comes with experience, just making sure they get that final round, but for SSG, of course, that resilience to bring it back, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's where you see the overall difference of expectation, also different type of experience on the team, right? You have one that really stayed in it because they had incredible individuals. That's what Cole was telling us. These guys can shoot, right?
Yep.
You will put them in position where they will have to take gunfights to win against you because you're so above strategically and methodically. You're just better in getting the man advantage. You're forcing them into playing aggressive towards you, and they can shoot their guns. So it's really bad to play against them when you're like this because you're always fighting that you're going to lose those gunfights. In the end, they stayed true to themselves. They were the better team today, and I think it showed in both play styles, both passive and aggressive.
It's a brutal tournament. It's always hard when there are two teams that, you know, as a neutral, you maybe want both of them to progress because they're so entertaining to watch for a multitude of reasons. Let's just give Reaps some props here because the Grim Reaper himself, Keanu Reaps, he didn't reap the rewards with a victory there, but he was cooking on gas, Leo.
Yeah, I think he was one of the guys that really made Bleed stay in that game. Although SSG, look at this. This is a perfect example, right? They're 4v3. They gained the first pick actually by force, rushing into the bomb site and getting the pick. Now it's 4v3, and just before the execute, Rips goes crazy. Double kill here, picking them 1v1, and another 1v1 he will win here with the shotgun on close range. The thing is, that's where he's so good at, is finding his opening engagements. There again, first pick, opening kill, from picking outside into the unknown at 1:30 in the game. And then here, look, it's a 1v2 clutch. And who brings the pistol to a 1v2? Only Rips can do that. You know what I mean? He knows how much damage he can do close range, and he's so confident in winning those gunfights that he takes the pistol to do that. I mean, what an incredible display of skill from him. I know initially when they were picking him up, there was always that thing that Rips might not have the best English. He was such a talented player that I think he's really learned how to progress in terms of communication. But apart from that, the talent, the sheer talent he has, if he can stay in that team and they can develop strategically to be more consistent compared to SSG, there will be a real contender for titles next year.
It's a sad one. I mean, they didn't manage to make the main stage, but they did make an impact, and I think that Bleed have done their region proud.
Definitely. I mean, of course, we've been talking about, I think the big thing for this aside so far is people saying, oh, you know, supporting an APAC team, it's difficult. But APAC is definitely showing that we should trust the process. There's influences coming in for these multiple APAC teams that show that, you know, even with coaching staff, for example, they have this background of these multiple different regions, can adapt to that as well. I feel we're seeing that with Bleed, we're seeing with Fearx as well. But yeah, once again, on Reaps as well. I mean, you just put a little highlight package there, you could just copy it straight, put it onto YouTube. But also, he was getting vocal, and that was something I love to see. These guys are having a really good time. As we mentioned many times, no real expectations off their shoulder considering the region they came from, but they were having a good time, and that's sometimes that's all that matters. Yep,
shout out to Bleed. It is now time for our Intel Play of the Game, or as Milos likes to say, our Intel Play of the Game. Leo.
Wow. Well, I'm jumping. So it's J90 again doing incredible J90 things. Like he's been so consistent throughout the tournament. But look at this. He gets a triple kill, even a wall bang with the pistol. Like he's the only guy. Look how much fun he's getting. Like he's so happy doing that. And I think that goes again, like, obviously we're praising Rips because he was an incredible individual on bid. I think Hoven as well was an incredible individual, but like, overall, what I meant by saying that SSG was the better team is, yes, strategically they were the better team. Methodically, they were the better team. But also on their hand, they've got some incredible individuals that can shoot their shots. And J90 is one of them, and the most consistent one, if I have got to say, with Ashen.
If you are watching closely, you can see right now some absolute megastars taking their seats behind us here. We have got a huge series coming up very shortly, but before we discuss that, let's take a look at the bracket. This is huge though, isn't it? I'm getting, seeing all these big names behind me. Oh my word, like, Doki just said he's not that big of a name. I think you are, brother. Yeah, so the bracket continues to shake out before our eyes, Anne.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, we touched on it briefly with the interview with Ashen, right? They're either going to play W7M or NIP next. W7M, of course, you can see currently leading that series 1-0. And then, of course, if you look at the bottom there's two huge elimination games. Either G2 or Liquid is going home today, and I don't think I want either of them to go home, to be honest.
That's the brutal thing about this bracket, isn't it? You know, G2 were flying through those group stages. They just make one hiccup and they're right in the thicker things in that crocodile swamp that is the lower bracket.
Yeah, you look at the teams that are facing each other right now to try and qualify to the main stage. And it's heartbreaking when you see G2 versus Liquid.
Yeah.
You see W7M versus now Spacestation. It's teams that should belong on the main stage. But that's the reality of Six Invitational.
Yeah.
You can only have so many talented teams on the big stage. And that's what it's making it so special.
Yeah, and listen, we've still got a little bit of time here before we throw to a break, and you know, I've actually had, we've all had the luxury of having a little sneak peek at this arena, where it's all going down this weekend for the Hammer, and it is huge. This has got to be, I mean, it's been called the biggest event in Siege history, and we know that the Brazilian fans love this game. They're going to show up, they're going to be loud, they're going to be supportive. In a word, how excited are you?
I mean, I don't think there's one way or one word to be able to show how excited I am. I mean, of course, you mentioned that the Brazilian fans, so passionate, so good. And of course, the chance they were bringing out. I mean, I was in Berlin as a viewer watching that. The chance that they were bringing out the Brazilian viewers, I can't wait to hear even more of that in the arena.
All right, guys, you've been an amazing pair of analysts. Thank you very much. I'll let you go and watch what is set to be an absolutely epic battle. G2 versus Liquid is next.